Ladies and gentlemen, our referee has called a stop to this contest, declaring the winner by knockout and new MMA show! Greetings, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another exciting round of and new MMA show. I am your host, Michael Hansen, and I do all kinds of raucous things with microphones because I'm a ring announcer and cage announcer. And I'm joined this week, as I always am, by my two compadres who bring MMA punditry to new heights. Introducing first, from New York, Mark Priaulx. What's up, bud?
I think I might yawn, unplanned, but it just comes in every intro of this show. It's like, welcome to our show. Get pumped up.
This is how enthused. This is how enthused Mark is to be doing our show.
Yeah. Well, hey,
how are you?
Start for us tonight, but for once, as of late, we don't have an episode that has like 1,000 things in it, so should be a decent night here. I'm swell. Everything is good. Nothing to report, I don't believe.
You still have Mr. McGregor over your shoulder with his two belts.
Yeah, dude. Have either of you watched this
Hey, look at that. Omar's sporting a Conor McGregor t-shirt there.
Have either of you watched this documentary yet?
No, dude. I have to.
Yeah, it's on my agenda. I loved Notorious.
So did I.
So I have high hopes for this one as well.
I should probably watch Notorious again and then watch this new one.
That's a precursor.
Yeah.
Okay, and now let me just cue you up, Omar, from Florida, the Sunshine State. He is the Nicaraguan Nightmare who is training and getting more and more skillful in the art of 8 murder limbs. Omar Artola. What's up, buddy?
What's up? Yeah, I took some more advanced classes. My gym did some restructuring on how they are teaching things, and so I took some more advanced classes today. And it was fun. It was fun, and it was the first time that I really gassed and hit a wall in months, maybe. So I'm getting worked, and it feels fantastic.
That's awesome, man.
That's
dope.
Awesome.
Well, tonight I'm exhausted. It's been a long couple days with a few late nights with the baby. So I hate myself. So I'm drinking a gin and tonic during the show.
Best way to solve hating yourself.
I know, right? Also, some fun news. XFC is back.
Nice.
I just discovered that they created a brand new Instagram account, and they have an event on June 2nd. So, of course, your boy reached out on the DMs and was like, I don't even know who's heading this charge this time, but I really enjoyed being the ring announcer for XFC for their last 2 events, so I would love to do this one. And somebody, I don't even know who, got back to me and was like, thanks, Michael. I'll pass this along to, and I was like, to who? I don't know. So probably not going to happen.
You don't even know at this point.
Don't even know. I have no idea who's in charge this time, but
we call that hustling.
Yeah, man.
No shame in it.
That's how I've gotten almost all my work in ring announcing.
You slide into the DMs that matter.
Slide into the DMs, cold call, cold email. That's how I got my start. That's how I got so much of my work. And it's been building from there, so I have no shame.
Facts.
Okay. All right, boys. Well, this week we have a fun little show. We're going to recap the fights from UFC on ABC. Rozenstruik versus Almeida. We're going to throw a bunch of these fights into our lightning round. Then we're going to find out who rose and fell in Mark's very own rankings system that we call the Priaulx Rankings after him. Then we're going to recap Bellator 296 from this past weekend as well. Bunch of huge fights with also including the legend Gegard Mousasi. Then we're going to go inside the MMA sphere with Omar, find out what's going on in the world of MMA outside of the cages. And then we're going to look ahead to this coming weekend's UFC Fight Night, Dern versus Hill. And then we might end with a little bit of trivia. So before we get into any fight talk, boys, let us first thank our audience. If you're watching this right now on YouTube, thank you so much. We appreciate each and every one of you guys. Hit the thumbs up. That helps us out so much. If you've been watching a few of our videos, if you've just discovered our channel, If you like what you've been watching, please subscribe. That also helps us out a ton. Hit the bell icon so that you never miss a video. That doesn't hurt. But our favorite thing is if you guys drop a comment below. If you like any of our takes, let us know. If you disagree with any of our takes, let us know and give us your take as well. Also, if you want audio only while you are driving on that commute, or if you're doing some chores, we got you there. You can find us wherever you get your podcasts. And of course, find us on social media at @&new_MMA show. Pretty much everywhere that matters. Okay, let's get into this. This week, the name on the marquee has got to be Jailton Almeida, who this past weekend at the Spectrum Center in Charlotte, North Carolina for UFC on ABC, UFC Fight Night, Rozenstruik versus Almeida, defeated Jairzinho Rozenstruik by submission via rear naked choke. The official time, 3:43 of the very first round. Mark, Almeida making it to the big stage and succeeding and impressing. Give us your take on his performance.
Not a ton of drama in that one. It's like clockwork for this man thus far. You did have that one moment, like in the first 5 seconds, where Rozenstruik stuffed a takedown and kind of shoved Almeida away, and you were like, oh, damn. And then 25 more seconds tick away, and the fight's over. Not actually, but effectively, because Almeida's second shot gets it to the ground, and he gets to go to work. And he was patient. He spent like a good 3 minutes probably working to get to mount. And Rozenstruik was calm. You could tell he was trying very hard not to do anything dumb that would provide an opening. But it didn't matter. Almeida's just surgical. He gets to mount finally at like a minute 30 left. The ground and pound starts. Rozenstruik turns, and the fight is over. Yet another sub for Almeida. Yet another win for Almeida where he basically never even gets touched. And the dominance at this point is just getting a bit silly. So I wouldn't be shocked if this man has a hard time getting someone to say yes for his next fight.
Omar, let's bring you in here. Talking technique, give us your take on Almeida's, Mark's word was perfect, surgicalness in his biggest win of his career thus far.
For me, it really kind of established the fact right now that the heavyweight division is very lacking in ground technique, right? Jailton Almeida is like 30 pounds less than this man. Like you'd have to put a weight vest on him to even come close to Rozenstruik. And it didn't really matter. There's so much technique, so much precision behind how Jailton Almeida comes inside. And the one thing that makes him a problem is his takedowns. The fact that he can take you down. As a jiu-jitsu guy, that's generally the knock, right? Is when they get to the ground, they'll get you. And like we saw with Kron Gracie, what if he can't really get you to the ground that way?
Yeah.
Right? Or keep you down to the ground. And but Almeida doesn't really have that problem. He is quite exceptional getting down to the ground, keeping you down to the ground, and just chewing you up. Big guys, I almost think, are his specialty because they just don't know what they're doing. And we've had this era now for the last however many years now, especially since technical guys now like DC and, Stipe haven't really been super, DC retired obviously, but Stipe not having been very active and stuff like that, where the equalizers have come in and just wrecked dudes because everybody's just standing. Curtis Blades can't find an entry to save his life, quite literally. Yeah. Otherwise, he would be probably a champion right now. But he leads face first and doesn't dip down and shoot in. And like, I'm not trying to tell Curtis Blades how to wrestle, but at the same time, it's on camera. I don't know what to tell you.
Right.
So, he's a problem. And I think that, I feel like the way Jones is in public now, like he's obviously a heel. I feel like he's full heel at this point.
You think so? Jones?
Yeah, 100%. He stays talking shit out of left field. Unprompted. No one asked.
Everybody talks shit.
Not like Jones. Like he'll throw jabs at people, especially, and I feel like it's, the more I think about it, I feel like they're subtle jabs to people because he kind of wants these fights, right? The Ngannou thing we might, we'll get to in a little bit, saying like, oh, I might just fight this next guy and I might just leave. I don't have anything else to do in the division. And it's almost one, you think, no, he's probably, telling the truth and, why even come back? And another part of it is it might be the way Izzy kind of talks in the different sense where he's saying, show me something, right? Because we're going to get to a point now where Almeida is going to end up grinding through the entire division. Now, how the hell are you going to deny him a title shot? And unless you just leave the division, to me, it seems like a bad look, especially if you're trying to go GOAT. Almeida is a killer, and it won't take him very long to run through, I think, the rest of the top of the division before he's warranted a title fight.
I mean, there are guys who can grapple when you get toward the top. I mean, obviously, Bones and Stipe, as you said, but I'm saying before we even get there, there is Sergey Spivak, who can grapple. There's Curtis Blades, who's a wrestler, as you said. Tom Aspinall can grapple. There are challenges that are not guys he's just going to walk through. I mean, maybe he will, but I'm saying you wouldn't think as easily as you figured he would Rozenstruik.
100%. But when you talk about all of the guys that you just mentioned, not a lot of them have had those performances even earlier on in their career when they were fighting guys that weren't at the top of the division. Almeida so far, a guy who's smaller than basically everybody, has had these fucking fantastic performances against guys I think to a certain extent, we expect him to have fantastic performances against, right? So he's almost living up to this hype that we've put on top of him. Maybe that starts to slow down once he gets to the elite of the elite. Maybe he's not finishing guys left and right. But at the same time, against guys, from a performance standpoint, against guys that you just mentioned, he still seems to be kind of cream of the crop. You know what I mean? I would put him up against a lot of these top guys just based on performance.
Yeah, I mean, he's Brazilian Khabib. I think we said it in his debut.
Brazilian Khabib.
It's freaking accurate.
The beast, man.
Yeah, man. This marks 14 in a row for Maladinho Almeida. Still has yet to win a fight by decision. All of these wins have come by way of finish, most of them in the first round. And yet another one over a huge name in Biggie Boy Rozenstruik. Let's talk about Rozenstruik first and where he goes from here. So, after capping a 10-0 run to start his MMA career, he capped that run. That 10th win was his infamous knockout and lip destruction against Alistair Overeem. He's gone 3-5 since. Mark, what would you do with Rozenstruik next?
I thought that finally we could do Derek Lewis and Jairzinho Rozenstruik, which you guys have heard me ask for a lot of times on this show. But Derek Lewis just like 2 days ago got booked against Marcos Rogerio de Lima. So I guess that one's out the window. So I will say Tai Tuivasa. I want Tai to get a little bit of a step down after the 2 losses. I don't want him to fight another top 5 level guy. Let him potentially at least get a reset and let those 2 boys bang, and one of them gets right back on track, maybe with a big knockout.
Love that. Omar, do you have any other names that you would throw out there?
This is for Rozenstruik?
Yes.
What is Alexander Romanov doing?
Romanov? Didn't he just...
I don't think he's matched up yet.
Didn't he just look terrible?
Yes.
In his last fight?
Yes.
I'm sorry, did Rozenstruik look great?
That was he didn't look great because of a style thing. Romanov looked like I don't know
Listen, Rozenstruik came in with a lot of hype. He knocked a few guys out. He's been up and down. To me, he's still got to prove himself. Because to me, he's still just a couple of barbells on his hand. He doesn't seem to have, at least in my opinion, a ton of technique. You know what I mean? He has technique for what works for him, but when it comes to overall an elite level, I'm not really sold, and I never have been on Rozenstruik. To me, he's always been maybe a top 10, top 15 fighter. But the tippity top, these guys where it comes, these small little areas, I just don't think he has it, man. I think he has a lot of openings that guys can exploit, and I think a lot of them have.
I'm sure we'll find out where he's ranked in the Priaulx rankings, but let's talk about now.
The only rankings that matter, gentlemen.
That's right. It's true.
I'll tell you now because he's not in my movers because he only fell a couple spots, so it wasn't noteworthy enough for me to include. But he's number 11 in my rankings.
I like it.
Moment.
It checks.
Okay, let's turn our attention to this rising star, Jailton Almeida. Like I said, he's now won 14 in a row as a pro. Still undefeated in the UFC, obviously. Still yet to win a fight by decision. Omar, if your dreams come true, who is Almeida fighting next?
I mean, a lot of these names are really interesting. You know, the Aspinalls, the Spivaks, the Blades. Curtis Blades just dropped the ball again, didn't he?
Yep. Yeah, he lost
recently.
Yes.
Knocked out.
Yeah. Give him Blades. Give him Blades.
Blades.
Give him a real wrestler. Give him a real grappler. Because I think at this point, that's probably the biggest knock, right? Is he's fighting all these guys that we know will probably kill him if they put his hands on him, but none of them are able to put their hands on him. So give him a guy who probably would. I mean, who knows when Curtis Blades shows up? He probably won't wrestle at all in that fight. But give him a guy who on paper should be wrestling and kind of working that way. Maybe he strikes with him and maybe Almeida knocks him out. Maybe he gets knocked out. Who knows? But I think he deserves the shot. I think the performance is warranted, and I think the matchup stylistically is very, very interesting on paper.
Mark, any other names?
So that's who I was going to say. And I thought you guys were going to be surprised that I moved him that far up the line. But yeah, I mean, so there's a reason that I say that. First of all, he asked for Tuivasa. That does nothing for me. We just saw that fight. He just beat Rozenstruik. You know what I mean? I like Tuivasa more than Rozenstruik, but style-wise, it's the same fight.
It's a horrible match.
So there are plenty of unbooked guys at heavyweight. Gane, Spivak, Derek Lewis, granted, that's the same fight again. Volkov, and Blades. The problem is you need to get someone to say yes to this fight. A lot of these guys kind of like Spivak just broke through. I'm sure that's the last thing he wants to do. Volkov's trying to work his way back up. Curtis Blades is sitting there, and he keeps fumbling the bag every time he gets back to the top. And he needs some type of springboard to let him get right back into the mix. And this is it. Like, let him be the one to take this challenge. I could see him saying yes to it. And we get to see, as Omar alluded to, an actual test of Jailton Almeida. And maybe it's not even the offensive wrestling from Blades. It may just be the defensive wrestling in that he is not letting Almeida take him down. And then he is able to outstrike Almeida. It could go that route too. So it would answer a lot of questions, and I would like to take that step. I don't need to see Almeida run through another striker.
It is the most intriguing matchup that I can think of for Almeida. It's also a tremendous matchup for Blades, the wrestler versus the jiu-jitsu practitioner. My eyes will be glued. And I've been saying for, I don't even know how long at this point, that I think that the most interesting stylistic matchup for Jon Jones, in my opinion, is Curtis Blades. I now have some questions about Jailton Almeida against Jon Jones and some intrigue there as well, given his size, clear athleticism, his frame, and his jiu-jitsu. So at heavyweight, man, oh man, I would love to see that if that could happen. But who knows, as Omar was alluding to earlier, who knows if Jones is even going to be there. Okay, let's move on, unless you guys have anything else you are dying to say about either of these two heavyweights. Congrats to Jailton Almeida. Cannot wait for his next one, whoever it might be against, hopefully against Curtis Blades. In the co-main event of this UFC Fight Night, a very consequential clash went down in the light heavyweight division between Johnny Walker and Anthony Smith, with Johnny Walker walking away victorious, defeating Anthony Lionheart Smith by unanimous decision. The scores read 29-28, 30-27, and 30-27, all for the Brazilian Johnny Walker. Omar, start us off first this time. What was your take of the very patient performance of this new Johnny Walker 2.0 over Anthony Smith?
Yeah, he's not button mashing anymore. You know, he's taking his time. He's measured, a lot more measured now, picking his strikes. And I don't know, man. When Anthony Smith loses, bro, Anthony Smith fucking loses. And the more that fight went on, the more difficult that fight became to watch. Like at one point, he was like, I think trying to hype himself up and put himself in a fucked up mindset back to when his family had gotten like broken into, like his house. And I think he
Dude, I
tried
don't know
to,
what that was.
dude, he tried to make Johnny Walker, like poor Johnny Walker's in the cage, like, what? What'd I do? Poor guy is so fucking confused, but Johnny Walker is like, you're trying to hurt my family. You're trying to hurt my family. Like, he's trying to like have a psychological moment there where he like makes Johnny Walker the villain of his story, I guess, or whatever's happening up there, trying to hype himself up at the, towards the end of that fight, or was it the middle? I don't even know, man. It got weird. It got weird in there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mark, your thoughts?
First off, Johnny Walker by decision, baby. How many called that one?
You did, dude.
Yeah, right.
Boy, he looked great. And how about John Kavanagh? I guess it's not just Conor McGregor after all. He's got Johnny Walker in a great place right now. Yeah. The biggest story of this fight, I thought, was the calf kick. Anthony Smith took damage to that left leg, and it became a factor, pretty early on already. I loved the way that Walker was doubling up immediately on the calf kicks. That was pretty cool. It's not something that you see every day, just firing it twice. But Anthony Smith is a dog. We know this. Even in round one when he was getting cracked and he got dropped, I couldn't believe the way that he pushed through to get that takedown. I thought it was about to be over right there. But all in all, he struggled with the combo of attributes that is Johnny Walker, which, again, we kind of touched on last week. He's a fighter's fighter, Anthony Smith. If he has a chance, he'll be in a fight to the end. But he just, that blend of Walker's length and speed and athleticism was a puzzle that Smith could not figure out. He couldn't even get himself into the fight. Walker was able to control the range. He was countering beautifully all fight. He never let Smith kind of corral him the way that he would like to. And then at like the 3-minute mark of that fight in the final round, I thought Anthony Smith got shut down. Like, he took a couple big ones to the calf. His mobility was just like, yep, that's all we got. I'm out of here. And I really think Johnny Walker had about 2 minutes there where he could have absolutely finished Anthony Smith. And for whatever reason, he kind of coasted. Like, it was there for the taking. And it was almost like he didn't want to finish him, it seemed. So he maybe blew a chance for an even bigger statement. But either way, it's a big win for him. And he is finally fighting the way we all thought he could fight some years ago.
Yeah. To that point, I thought he, in his kind of broken English in his post-fight interview in the Octagon, I thought he said something to that end of like, I wanted to fight 3 rounds, almost like he was saying I did not want to finish him.
I hate when guys say that.
He's an idiot. He said that shit before. But
Yeah.
I really think that he's playing it safe because he's gotten fucked up before. And he gets to a point where he gets too excited. And we see it with a lot of fighters. He gets too excited. Michel Pereira is a perfect example. Earlier on in that career, you want to talk about button mashing? That dude was doing backflips in the cage unprompted. Like, in mid-fight. You know what I mean? And then he's like, oh, shit, I'm gassing the 3rd round. How did that happen?
Yeah.
Like, and guys are learning early, especially the guys who are very excited in the cage. They got to be a little bit more measured. And I think Johnny Walker still has not found his style. I think Kavanagh is trying to rein him in.
Yeah.
But once he finds, if he does ever find a perfect blend of, technical Johnny versus when he needs to break out wild Johnny, he could be a real problem going forward. But like, to Mark's credit, there is an opportunity to finish. That's when you button mash. That's when you get fucking crazy. Just a little bit, right? You don't have to red line for the rest of the round, but like sprint, right? Sprint 15, 20 seconds, put it on him. You know what I mean? Put the pressure on him. Let him throw something, right? Get ready for the counter and then put the pressure on him back again. You know what I mean? It just seems like there was an opportunity, but I'm assuming to me, it seemed like he didn't want to get caught with something, right? He didn't want to rush in, get caught with something, and then everything he just basically did was for nothing.
I mean, look, you know what they say, the last thing a fighter loses is their power, and Anthony Smith might have been a little bit hurt throughout that fight and shut down, but this is still 205. These are still big boys, and the last thing Johnny Walker wanted, and Kavanagh in his corner would be for him to fight a great 13 minutes of a fight and then think that he's going to swarm at the end and get caught. I think it's a testament to his discipline that has been sort of instilled in him by John Kavanagh, which I think is fantastic. I think John Kavanagh has sat him down and has been like, look, for this weight class, you have great size, you have great attributes, and you have great power for 205. You need to be patient in there. Calm down. We need to take the edge off and see how far you can go with this. And so far, so good with this little renaissance of his career.
Yeah.
So, congrats to him, man. Let's talk about matching these boys up. Omar, if you were the matchmaker of the UFC, who would you go with next for Mr. Johnny Walker?
God, I keep forgetting who this man has fought.
He has now beaten Anthony Smith, Paul Craig, and Cutelaba 3 in a row. Before that, he had back-to-back losses to Jamal Hill, who took his soul, and Thiago Santos.
Jamal Hill, who took his soul. Well, he's definitely not going to be fighting Jamal Hill anytime soon. I can tell you that shit. I mean, he's at the top of the division here. You know what I mean? He's been kind of hanging around here. He's in a weird spot because he's lost to Krylov not too long ago. Krylov is on his way up as well. I don't know if we really need to run that one back necessarily, but in the UFC rankings, they are both tied for number 5 at this point. It has been 3 years. Maybe it's time to run that one back at this point.
Okay. What about you, Mark?
Yeah, I considered the same. It's a little tough at the top of light heavyweight because we still don't know for sure, right, if we're getting Hill and Yuri. Like, I feel like one day we saw a report that it was targeted, and the next day they said Yuri's probably not ready. So, like,
yeah.
I don't know what's happening there. I don't know if that means Magomed's going to get a title shot. Now we just found out Jan is booked against Alex Pereira, who's moving up. So it kind of leaves these 3 guys in the 2 Omar just mentioned, Nikita Krylov and Johnny Walker, and then the returning Alexander Rakic, who is supposedly due for a fight announcement here. So since Krylov and Johnny Walker already fought, I think I'd rather see one of them get Rakic. I don't know what that means for the one that doesn't get Rakic, but I'll say Johnny Walker and Rakic is my fight.
I like it.
Do you think they're gonna make Magomed fight one more at this point? Magomed's gonna be the one end up getting screwed out of all this.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean,
because he might be the one to get Rakic at this point.
If Yuri's not ready, and they already booked Jan now, I got to think it's Magomed that's fighting Hill right now. Like, who else would fight Hill? Unless Hill's just going to continue waiting. But he kind of said that he doesn't want to wait past summer.
I hope they put him in then at that point. Because otherwise, what is he waiting for? You know, he's going to get stuck in that position where he's been waiting for so long, everything's going to move without him.
Yeah. That's kind of my guess, unless Yuri's suddenly ready. Who knows what to trust on him? I feel like the news on him is always all over the place.
Yeah.
Okay, let's talk quickly about Anthony Lionheart Smith. So he had a 3-fight win streak going with Devin Clark, Jimmy Crute, and Ryan Spann falling victim to him. But now he has lost back-to-back fights once again to Ankalaev and now Johnny Walker. Mark, what do you think? What's next for Anthony Smith?
I think he might not love it, but he has fought a lot of these dudes already, so I want to use Anthony Smith to test an up-and-comer at this point. I feel like coming off this loss, that's kind of the role he should be filling. So wherever you want to go, could be like an Azamat Murzakanov, could be it's Zachukwu, who's hot, even a Carlos Olberg if you want to really jump him up. Just one of these hot young dudes at light heavyweight, I kind of feel like is what Anthony Smith should be doing right now.
I like it. Zachukwu would be great. Omar, any other ideas? Any other names you would throw out there for Anthony Smith?
I mean, for me right now, I'm going to double check if this man has a fight lined up. Because every time I pick something, Sons of Bitches has always got something going on. Okay. I think this is the rankings for me don't, I mean, I guess they make sense. I don't know what Mark has Anthony Smith at right now, but just his performances have not been, they haven't been working for me. And the other person I feel like his performances haven't been working for me is Dominic Reyes. And believe it or not,
going to go Reyes.
And believe it or not, as Mark alludes to how Anthony Smith has fought all these dudes at light heavyweight, these motherfuckers have never crossed paths.
Yep.
So make it happen because they're both looking like hot garbage lately.
Yeah. No, that's That's what I thought you were going to do. And I considered it
I don't
myself.
know what you want me to do, dog. I don't know what you want me to do.
Okay, let's move on. Let's move on to very exciting fight in the welterweight division. Ian Machado Garry, round 1 TKO over Daniel D-Rod Rodriguez. Oh my goodness. The official time, let me pull it up real quick. 2:57 of round number 1. Oh,
Ireland, baby.
Ireland.
Let's
that's
go.
Right. Omar
Let's
is referencing
go.
His
Fucking
McGregor t-shirt.
Shamrock and shit. Let's go.
Mark, give us
know
your
if that's
take
what
of the
that is.
first round finish for Ian Garry over the very talented welterweight in Daniel Rodriguez.
Who wants to hate on Ian Garry now?
Line
Who
them up.
wants to doubt this man now? I remember after, I want to say it was his second fight, the Darian Weeks fight, everyone saying how he got exposed and all this, and why were they hyping this guy, and he had nothing to show in there, and yeah, he won, but he squeaked by and all this. He's 5 fights into his UFC career, and he's already a ranked fighter. So much for all of that nonsense. And I said it when he came. I said that he is the hyped European prospect who has a real chance to be ranked, and not Paddy Pimblett. And damn if that has not played out thus far.
Yep.
This dude is a problem, man. He has plenty of natural gifts that he already came in with. He's got the size. He's got the speed. Both footwork and hand speed, all of it. He's got the natural timing for sure. But you can also see his progression every single fight. There's visible improvements each and every time we see him. And it's because of his mind, man. That's my belief. He has a mind for the game. He's got the focus for it. He wants to learn from everyone. You heard them talking on the broadcast about how he's got all these plans to travel to Brazil to like immerse himself in some big jiu-jitsu thing. Then he's going to go to New Zealand and train with Izzy because he feels like his striking style can help him. Like he is really a dude who feels committed to this game, and he has himself at a point right now where he is really dialed in. To do that to D-Rod with the ease that he did it is a very, very big statement in the welterweight division. It was a beautiful setup for the head kick. He got D-Rod thinking body as he was blasting it a few times. He knocked him down. It was a great follow-up on the ground, gave him no chance to recover, and that is a huge fucking win for Ian Garry, or Ian Machado Garry, which
That's
I
right.
guess I have to get used to saying here.
That's right. Newlywed Ian Garry. I think he and his wife have combined last names.
So it's actually kind of a cool story for a quick sidebar. His wife had a kid already whose last name is Machado. So he didn't want him and his wife's last name to become Garry and the kid not have their name. So they chose Machado Garry so that they could all have the Machado.
That's so nice. Oh, my God. What a
I
fucking great guy.
I had actually thought about doing that with my wife's name because in Nicaragua that's actually pretty common. They'll combine the last names and
A lot
bro,
of
I
South
found
American
out
places do that.
I found out there's like family crests and shit. Like it's very fucking apparently medieval and all this other kind of stuff. A lot of families have family crests that go back hundreds of years. Anyway, long story short, I don't know what the story was.
Ian Garry. Head kick. What do you think?
Oh, yes, Ian Garry. Motherfucker's a beast. Yo, what did everybody pick? Who has the picks written down? Because I know we all had Ian Garry.
I need to write the picks down again. I need to get back on that.
I thought we had them written down. I thought that's what we were doing.
I
Is the market-
just write down the who. I don't write down the how.
What in the hell?
But I know that I said UD. I said I was debating if he could catch him, but I went UD in the
I
end.
don't remember.
Yeah, I feel like I went UD as well. But Jesus Christ, the precision from that kid is a real problem. And you can see the distance management. You can see it and it's I don't want to compare him to Conor McGregor, but you can see in the style, the way that he moves and the approach to his distance. He keeps a very lengthy distance, and he can because of the length of his legs, and he uses them very, very effectively. And the way he was setting up that kick was just... Man, that shit is crazy. The way that people can manipulate the body and manipulate the mind in the middle of a fight, because he's got... I mean, it's like going fishing. It's literally like going fishing. Like he's kicking him to the body, kicking him to the body, kicking him to the leg, kicking him to the body, right? And now you've got D-Rod totally accustomed to wanting to block to the body, wanting to catch the kick, wanting to do something to defend him from continuing to beat on his ribs. And so when that head kick comes, you could see it, and you can replay it, you could slow it down, you could do whatever you like. You could see him completely biting on that kick. His whole shit is exposed. All of it. No block, no arm, nothing. Totally gone. And the kick lands square in his face. And D-Rod is a beast, because a lot of people would have dropped right there. And he ate it, and as much as he could, stumbled back and ate some more shit on the ground, and that was all she wrote. Ian Garry's a real problem, and I think people who don't take him seriously, which I want to say D-Rod did not take him seriously. If you don't take him seriously, he's going to eat you alive.
Yeah, with one caveat I'll throw in there just to play devil's advocate, because I definitely picked Ian Garry for this as well. At 170 pounds, the upper echelon of this division is a shark tank of grapplers.
Agreed.
I was just
and my man needs to book that red eye for Brazil if he's planning on doing that, to sharpen up those mat skills, man, because he is a dynamic kickboxer. But like I said, 170, the top 170 is filled with wrestlers and world-class jiu-jitsu guys, and he's gonna have some real tests ahead of him.
Yeah,
and he's there.
Fact,
I think he's there. He's ready.
I was going to say, fun fact,
12-0.
he's in Brazil, though. He literally went to Brazil
Isn't
after
his
his
wife
fight.
Brazilian?
Yes.
Yep, he went down there to meet her side of the family for the first time. So he'll be in Brazil for quite some time. Who knows what he does down there with his time.
That's awesome.
Yeah, supposedly he had these big plans of training with these different jiu-jitsu beasts, so
I bet.
that's a good thing.
Isn't his wife like a famous Brazilian lady?
That
I have
don't
no
know.
idea.
I couldn't tell you. But I was about to make a similar point, which is that as much as we are hyping up Ian Garry here, and deservedly so, he has not fought anything resembling a wrestler or grappler in his career yet. Other than, I guess, Darian Weeks is a wrestler, but he is a significantly lower level of a wrestler than the guys we are going to be seeing coming
100%.
up here. So there are certainly questions that are still to be answered that we haven't even really seen asked yet of Ian Garry.
Okay. Like it. Speaking of these other potential future opponents for Ian Garry, let's talk about who his next opponent could perhaps be. The former Cage Warriors welterweight champ Ian Garry, now 5-0 in the UFC. Of course, still undefeated, now 12-0 as a pro. Omar, talk to me about who is next for the future Ian Garry at welterweight, in your opinion.
We should make a little caveat here, just going forward, that apparently him and Vicente Luque will probably never fight. Seems like they're really close boys.
Oh, really?
Apparently. I found that out myself recently during one of his interviews with Ariel. So that apparently is not going to happen maybe ever. So I would just throw that into people's consideration.
Does that apply to Gilbert Burns then as well, I guess? Because they all train in the same place.
I don't know. Maybe that question hasn't come up because Gilbert is so high up in the rankings.
But I bet it
maybe
does. Because, they all train together regularly, those three.
Yeah. It might be a thing going forward. Who knows? But Gilbert Burns is also, I don't want to say the end of his career, but he's at a very different point in his career, so it might not affect it as much as a Vicente Luque at this point would, because I think Vicente Luque, is, while not an up-and-comer, is still trying to get his real crack at the top, so to say.
Yep.
But the call-off in Neil Magny, I think, I don't hate it. I really don't hate it. I think there are some valid points there. I think Neil Magny separates the boys from the contenders. And Neil Magny is, and to take Ian Garry's specific words, Neil Magny is good everywhere, but he's not necessarily great everywhere. But the reality is, if you're not better than him, then you don't really deserve to be at the top of the division. Yeah. And I think Ian Garry has a lot of the skills to beat Neil Magny. Neil Magny's a dog, though. And Neil Magny is probably going to look to take this fight to the ground. And I think we're going to see at least a shade of what Ian Garry has to offer on the ground, whether he's a guy who's on his back, holds guard, you know what I mean, not really trying to do much. Maybe he tries to stand up. Or maybe Ian Garry's got a ground game that we don't know about and he starts pulling shit. So maybe we'll see it in this fight. I'm excited for it.
Yeah, in terms of grappling, maybe Magny presents as something of a litmus test for Ian Garry. Mark, what about you? What do you think? Who's next for Garry if you had your druthers?
I'm fine with the Magny call-out as well. I mean, it would require Magny to beat Phil Rowe next month. If Magny doesn't win that fight, I don't think it makes much sense. So Magny would certainly have to come through in that regard for that fight to be booked. I will throw out, granted it's going away from him needing to fight a grappler, as we just said. If Stephen Thompson beats Michel Pereira, how fucking fun would Ian Garry and Stephen Thompson be? Just
man.
As a fan. But I do feel like we need to see him against some type of wrestler, grappler, so I'll say Neil Magny is probably what makes sense.
But what if, like, skill for skill, Stephen Thompson, like, pieces him up?
I just don't. I don't see.
Wonder Boy is just like the experience.
Oh yeah.
It's just.
I'm gonna be honest, man.
What
that
he's done to other dudes. Like, remember when Vicente Luque was that striking killer, and then he fought Wonder Boy, and he was like, "Oh, I don't know how to move."
Right.
Dude, I honestly think it's going to be more like Robert Whittaker versus Stephen Thompson. Like, I really think it's going to be a lot of chess match. I think it's going to be a lot of feints, a lot of trying to find entries. I don't think it's going to... Vicente Luque is a different type. They're not the same type of striker.
Oh, no, not at all. Not at all.
Right.
Yeah,
So the approach is totally
Muay Thai.
different. Right. The technique that's going to be involved in that fight is probably not going to allow for the barn burner that I think a lot of people expect it to be.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
I want to see it for the technique.
Yes.
100%. 100%.
Yeah.
I mean, to your point about Luque, MMA is so saturated with Muay Thai. It's kind of like in baseball, lefties and righties. So many right-handed batters are not used to batting against a left-handed pitcher. They're just that there are so fewer lefties. So my shitty analogy is that MMA is so saturated with Muay Thai, and then you get a random karate expert in Wonder Boy Thompson, and it makes a guy like a Vicente Luque, who's a Muay Thai striker, feel like he's a fish out of water.
Yeah.
Okay.
And
let's
I
move
think
on from that.
there's not a
analogy, but the rest of it was good.
the reality is there's just not a ton of guys who have made karate that effective in that realm, right? Like the way that Stephen Thompson is able to use his distance management, his push kicks, his length, and his dexterity with his legs to go from one side to the other very quickly. You're not going to see that on the regular in MMA. A lot of these guys don't have the time to learn that shit from scratch. Stephen Thompson came in with a very different base, and the fact that he's got his wrestling to where it is a super big testament to his ability to be an athlete, because that's not simple and it's not easy to do. And he's fantastic. He's one of the best in the welterweight division. I think he's going to stay one of the best until he retires.
Quick update. The Heat won Game 1 against the Celtics.
I just saw that, too.
Let's go sports, baby.
Jimmy Butler dropped 35 points. Pretty good. He's not bad at basketball.
He's the man.
Let's talk about
my favorite basketball player.
He's so good. Daniel Rodriguez, very talented striker in his own right, now has dropped 2 in a row against Neil Magny and now Ian Garry. Mark, matchmaker hat back on for Daniel Rodriguez. Go.
I will throw out 2 choices. One of them is that if Randy Brown can beat Wellington Turman, I would love to see D-Rod and Randy Brown.
Yes.
The other option is justice for my man, Li Jingliang.
Run it back.
Let's go.
Run it back.
Let's go.
Okay, Omar. Do you want that? You just want that, don't you?
He just wants to say it.
Justice from my man,
Okay.
Li Jingliang.
All right. Okay. Moving right along here because of our late start, let us throw the rest of these fights from UFC Fight Night into our lightning round. Okay, if you don't know, if you're joining us for the first time, the lightning round is where I challenge Mark and Omar to give me their quickest takes, a sentence, perhaps, gentlemen,
Challenge.
or 2.
Perhaps not.
Okay, in the light heavyweight division, Carlos Ulberg defeated Ihor Potieria in the first round by TKO. Mark, go first.
Well, that didn't take long. I don't think any of us are too surprised. Ulberg landed a beautiful counter check left that landed behind the ear. He poured it on to a downed Potieria. And he himself decided when it had been enough, and he walked off. And Keith Peterson was just like, "Oh, okay, let me stop this thing." But rightfully so. Poterio was fucked up, and another huge KO for Olberg, who is a scary man.
Keith Peterson said, "Let me put down my cigarettes and stop this fight."
Fucking guy.
Omar, go.
You know, for a nickname like No Nonsense, a lot of goddamn nonsense with Keith Peterson, man.
Dude,
you know what I mean?
Did you hear Dominic Cruz on the broadcast?
Yes, he's still salty.
When it was during the Silva de Andrade versus Stamen fight, and the ref was fucking up, and was it Anik? He's like, just to let you guys know, the next 6 of the next 7 fights are ref by Dan Mergliotta and Keith Peterson, so we'll be okay there. And Tom Cruise goes, "Oh, great, yeah, really reassuring."
He also said something during, I think this fight with Olberg.
Oh, he did. You're
during
right.
the replay. He was like, "See, the fighter decided when it was over,
Yes,
not the ref."
He did.
So salty.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
He said, "I've seen that once before." That's what he said. Yeah. In the
He's
cage.
not wrong.
Okay.
He's not wrong.
Omar, did you give a lightning
No.
take? Sorry.
No. Olberg
Just say
killed the guy,
thanks.
though.
Okay.
He did. Yep. He took a body, and he did Olberg things. It's exactly what we expect from Carlos Olberg. He just needs to do that on the regular, stay consistent.
He's so good.
And I love it.
He's so good at 205, man.
Yeah.
Watch
He
out
really
for
is.
Olberg.
I think, what is that? That's 4 in a row, I think, right?
Yeah, he's got to get a name real.
I don't even think he's had what, 1 decision, maybe?
Yeah, mostly finishes.
He's murdering guys left and right, and they're usually in the first round.
Yeah, 4 in a row. And 1 decision, yes.
Okay, moving on. Welterweight division. Alex Morono gets the submission win over Tim Dirty Bird Means in round number 2. Omar, go first.
Dog, I fucking told you. I don't know if I said submission,
Man,
but
I
I
took
had
Means.
Alex Morono.
I liked Means in this fight
I had
so
Alex
much.
Morono. I think, Mark, you took Alex Morono too, right?
Yeah, I did.
Dude, Alex, I told you, bro. Alex Morono's a dog, man. That kid is a worker. This is one of those kids that shows up at the gym, probably didn't know jack dick all, and just worked from the ground up. And look at him now. The kid is his fight IQ is something that I don't think people give him enough credit for. And I think the more that his body is able to keep up with his mind, the more he's a goddamn problem. And you saw it in that fight. The kid is a dog. He's got what it takes, and he's got the technique behind it. I love it. I love Alex Morono. I'm on that train so hard right now.
Dirty guillotine. That was sick. Mark, your turn.
Yeah, dude, Tim Means had a pretty crafty veteran round 1. It was a close round, and I thought Means was actually looking pretty good. But we've talked before about Morono having underrated jits, and Morono has underrated jits. He snatched up that guillotine beautifully. It's become a little bit of a go-to of his, but tightened it, found a way to kind of lean up, readjust, and then sit back, and it got real tight, and he got it done. And that might be the first time I've ever seen a guy whiff on a spinning back fist and transition the whiff directly into a guillotine. That was a wild little sequence from Alex Morono, but a big win.
Man. Loved his message too on the mic after the fight about the martial arts and how much he loves it. He's like,
yeah, he's big on that.
Go find a martial arts gym, saved his life or something.
I'm telling you, you can tell. You can tell. This is not a kid that's like a super athlete. You know what I mean? He's not he wasn't wrestling champion. He wasn't the star football player, whatever the fuck. This is a kid who's probably got fucked with a lot, right? Probably was in a weird place and learned how to defend himself. And when you get to that point, me and Mike were just talking about this, about the change inside when you work for this, right? For this skill, for this. Almost to a certain extent, it's hard to talk to anybody about training and not taking it as a way of life, right? Anybody that gets to this point, it changes the way you approach life. It changes the way that you see things and the way that you feel about yourself inside. And Morono is a perfect example. And I'm on it. I don't know. The story, man, is just so great. I fucking love that kid.
I actually know a guy who trains with a guy sometimes who regularly trains with Alex Morono. And that guy said that, you probably would hear this about a lot of people, but he said that he is the nicest guy and the hardest worker ever. So, checks out.
Yeah, dude.
Well. Let's move on. featured bout on the prelims of this UFC Fight Night, Almeida versus Rozenstruik. Excuse me, Rozenstruik versus Almeida. Matt Brown knocks out Court McGee in the very first round. Omar, go.
I feel bad for Court McGee, bro. Like, I want nice things for him. You know what I mean? And his approach to the fight was he's a grappler. He wants to maybe strike a little bit, kind of throw some hands a little bit, but all in all, he's trying to stop you from moving, trying to grapple, trying to hold on, control, take you down. Matt Brown wasn't having it. And he made him pay a lot. And when he started striking with Matt Brown is one of the dirtiest motherfuckers in the game.
He's so good.
That man was ready to scrap with anybody. Junkyard, top of a roof, in a helicopter. Like, Matt Brown is a beast. And he found that chin and put Court McGee out. Matt Brown is like gray and still wrecking dudes. I don't know how he's doing it, man. He's such an animal, that guy.
Mark?
Matt the Immortal Brown, and it is an apt fucking nickname.
Yep.
To still be adding highlights like that to your resume at age 42 is nuts. That was a true one-hitter quitter, one-shot kill. Court McGee didn't know what planet he was on. And Brown had to endure some of the typical Court McGee wrestling and clinch work, but he got free, and man, did he ever find the off switch.
Amen to that, man. God bless Matt Brown. Dude,
tied Derek Lewis for most knockouts in UFC history.
That's right. Crazy.
Yeah. As a welterweight, that's dope.
Somebody said on the broadcast, I either saw this on the broadcast or online, that Matt Brown and Court McGee are the first two UFC fighters to fight each other who both died legally of drug overdoses.
Wow, that's crazy. I knew that about Court. I didn't know that about Matt Brown.
Yeah, maybe it's true. Maybe it's not. Okay, moving on. Heavyweight division, Carl Williams defeated Chase Sherman by unanimous decision. Mark, go first.
Carl Williams is a beast on the takedowns. He almost kind of mixes in that football background with his takedowns. Like, he really runs through you and kind of lifts like as you would in a tackle. But Chase Sherman fought well. He stuffed some takedowns after round one. Round two, he was landing pretty well. He was keeping it close. But Carl Williams did win that fight. He took round one after the takedown, and then he clearly won round three. These people scoring round three for Chase Sherman need to never watch MMA again. Carl Williams snapped his head back about a dozen times in that round. So I don't get that. Not an overwhelming performance, I guess, for Carl Williams, but still 2 wins in 2 fights in the UFC now, so good on him.
Omar.
Yeah, I had Carl Williams winning round one, round three. I think where round three got a little sketchy was the damage early on that I think Carl Williams took, especially to the leg, seeing him kind of buckle under some of those kicks. But he shot for the takedown and kind of worked from there. But my point is there might have been moments where people might argue that was enough to take the round. I don't agree, but I could empathize with your situation. You're just wrong.
Okay. At a catch weight of 140 pounds, the fighter with the longest name ever, Douglas Silva de Andrade. Did I get it right?
Yes.
Defeated Cody Stamen by UD. Omar, go first.
Dog, I'm going to be honest, man. The main thing that I keep running into having watched that fight is it looks like it sucks to fight either one of them. They both look like absolute animals in there. Like the pace that they set, the strength that both of them visibly seem to have seems goddamn terrifying. Not to mention the actual fight itself, right? To watch them both use all of that force and all of those goddamn muscles against themselves is crazy. Every time Cody Stamen went, there was one sequence where I think just out of pure like locking their bodies in place, Stamen had to like finagle this dude like a fucking Rubik's Cube in the air to then slam him on the ground.
Yep.
Like it's so crazy to see how strong they are and how much control they have over their bodies like that. Yeah, I had De Andrade winning the fight. Cody Stamann is an animal for coming back in that third round and being able to put on a pace the way that he does. But I think Andrade had the first 2 rounds.
Yeah, this was a really fun fight. Definitely good performance from both guys. I'll make 2 points on this fight, and they're both about idiots. I'm sick of Twitter idiots, and I'm sick of idiot referees. For Twitter, there are so many people on Twitter calling this fight a robbery and saying that Stamann won 2 of the rounds. What other round besides round 3 do people possibly think he won? Like, leg kicks count. Body shots count. He was getting worked in the first couple rounds by Andrade. So Andrade absolutely rightfully won that decision. I get it that Cody had a huge round 3, but as much as you'll always hear me say I want Pride-style scoring, we don't have it. And it was 2 rounds to 1, clear as day. So there was zero controversy there. And then as far as idiot referees, I am so sick of these referees who have no idea what's going on. Stamann gets a great takedown in round 1. Andrade lands an illegal upkick. And not only does Andrade not get penalized, which is fine. You can give him a warning there. But then they take the position away from Stamann. So the only person who got penalized for Andrade's illegal upkick was Stamann. Make that make sense. It's an absolute joke. These guys truly have no clue. I don't know how they have jobs. I don't know how we have been at how MMA has been as mainstream as it is and as high level as it is for this long, and we still have referees who are that incapable reffing high level fights like this. It kills me.
Yeah, great point.
Yeah.
All right, at women's flyweight, Mandy Baum defeats Kim Ji-yoon by technical decision, split decision. The scores read 28-27 for Ji-yoon and 28-27, 28-27 for Baum. Mark, go first.
What fucking absurdity was this fight? Just
this shit. You might as well have done that at the shit in the parking lot. We didn't even need to be in the cage. Should have just been in the fucking parking lot.
Absurd in every single way. I don't know if I've ever seen such a mess in my life. First, you have the kick after the bell from Kim for no reason. It seemed just
there. No, there was a reason. There was a reason.
What was the reason?
So Ji-yoon Kim, you saw that both of her legs were fucked up, and I think she had talked about it leading up to the fight. How she's had injuries in her knees.
Yeah.
And earlier there was that stand up where they stood up Ji-yoon Kim from bottom position where she was on top, right?
Yeah.
If you go back and you watch, Baum hooks her leg as she's standing up and pulls on it, and you could see it tweaks her leg. You could see Kim react to it
after the round to try to get her back for it.
I mean, she was salty. I'm not agreeing with it. I'm just saying there was a reason. It wasn't out of left field. But that was a street fight, dog. She didn't give a fuck at that point. I mean, she gave the fight away.
Yeah, I mean, so we had the strike after the bell, then the knee to a grounded opponent. I mean, she was doing everything she could to give the fight away. Then Mandy Baum, or Boom, however you say, is going through this whole routine of getting hit with a baseball bat, just completely weird in every way, because we could all see the shot, and it was not like that level of a shot. I mean, who knows, but it was certainly a bit much. Then we have to go to a decision where we now have 2 consecutive 9-9 rounds, meaning we have to just score it basically off who won round 1, which was a toss-up round to begin with. So someone's going to be pissed either way. Fans are going to be pissed either way. And then the cards take about fucking 15 minutes to get into the octagon. It was just an absolute catastrophe in every sense of the word.
Oh, and then after the fight is over, after the fight is called, then the referee takes an additional point away. This was not before the fight was called.
That as well.
This was post-fight.
Yeah,
I've never seen that shit. Bro, I've never seen that shit in my life. Yeah. After the fight is called, you take another point away. I mean, I get the point.
Spider-Mans all looking at each other. Like,
bro,
which of us can fuck this up worse?
It was such a mess. And spoilers, Ji-yoon Kim got cut. So,
yeah, I saw that.
Yikes.
So did Chase Sherman, by the way.
Yeah.
And one other person from this card. Jessica Rose Clark, who we're going to get to in a minute.
Yeah.
Boom. Let's see. At a catch weight of 173 pounds, Brian Battle defeated Gabriel Green by knockout in round number 1. Mark, go first.
Excuse me as I burp into the microphone. Yeah, somehow I have a bit to say here about a 14-second fight.
Facts.
First off, how about Blonde Battle? I like the look for him. Secondly, how about the confidence this man came in with? The way he went through that intro, walked to the middle of the octagon, like arms up in the middle of the cage, taking it in from the crowd. I feel like that was some new vibes from Brian Battle, where he looked as if he had believed that he had leveled up. And then on the other end, Gabe Green, dude, you can't fight that way. You can't come out that hot and that crazy when dudes are completely fresh. Like, you're literally doing that is just flipping a coin, and you came out on the wrong side of the coin flip.
Yep.
So, it's a tough way to start a fight, but phenomenal counter from Brian Battle, and a huge way for him to bounce back and get buzzed right back on his name after kind of getting ground into dust by Fakhretdinov in the last one.
That's right. Omar, your take?
I mean, what are you doing? What are you doing? It's hard for me to see exactly what the game plan was, because Mark's absolutely right. That was a firefight. You went in there, no setup, we didn't even do anything yet. We didn't shake hands, we didn't do nothing. Just motherfucker came in just swinging shit and just like Mark said, flipped a coin. There was no real technique there. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And Brian Battle, the thing that was to me the most impressive, well, go back and watch that fight. Brian Battle's eyes are open the whole time. His eyes are fixed not even Gabe Green's eyes were fixed on the goddamn target the whole time. My man bit down in his mouthpiece, looked at Gabe Green, or looked at Brian Battle's chest, and just started going ham and just hope for the best. And Brian's eyes open, just missing stuff, maybe tagging him just at the end, moving nicely, whapa! And he cracks him so nasty. Gabe Green didn't even know what happened. I'm pretty sure there were moments where they started putting the camera on him while he was still sitting down, and I still don't think, after getting explained a couple times what happened, he knew what happened. It was not the best idea about going into that fight like that. I don't know if that was that the game plan? Like, that's concerning to me if, like, his whole camp came up with that. You know what I mean? That's a problem.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Last one, women's bantamweight. I forgot how to say her name. Tainara Lisboa defeated Jessica Rose Clark by submission via rear naked choke in the third round. Omar, go first.
Before we continue, because we've been called out on it before, we do have to mention Brian Battle did miss weight by like 3 pounds. So
I didn't even know that until I just heard Mike say the catch weight, and then I was wondering why it was catch weight. I didn't even realize that watching the broadcast.
Yeah, so he got to tighten that shit up. But still a good performance.
So it was only his second fight down at welterweight, so maybe he is still trying to hone it in on the cut.
Yeah. He looked good though.
Yeah.
This fight was kind of crazy, man. Jessica Rose Clark really had the approach of trying to take it down to the ground and trying to grapple as much as she could, but she looked outclassed, I think, in a lot of respects, even when it came to the ground. You know what I mean? Lisboa had a great approach when it came to countering. A lot of pressure was put down on Jessica Clark's head throughout that fight that didn't really let her capitalize on a lot of moments. She got her down a few times, was able to do anything with it. In fact, got reversed a couple times. She got fucking hip tossed a few times and went for a ride. And Lisboa, when got the opportunity, was piecing her up. Like Jessica Rose Clark's face by the end of that fight was battered and bruised, and she's gonna be feeling that for at least a week. I thought it was I'm glad the judges didn't rely just on takedowns alone, because Lisboa wasn't necessarily going for takedowns, and sometimes we see dumbass things like that. But Lisboa definitely, for me, won that fight without a doubt.
Well, I mean, she certainly won it because she choked her out.
Oh, right.
I don't know. Ending.
I am, because it was the very end of the fight, and it was just an ass beating anyway.
Yes, your mind was already thinking about what the cards were going to be, probably. Yeah. Another tough loss for Jessica Rose Clark. There was a time where she kind of looked like she was a fighter on the rise a bit. Not that she was going to be like a title contender, but that she was on the come up, and then it really just went the other way. Like, she seems to always be outdone as of late. Her game has started to feel like she's always the less dynamic fighter in the cage. Last fight, she really got outdone in the grappling. This fight, it was the striking. She's a tough girl, but I just don't know if she has enough in her game these days against these more evolved fighters. And Lisboa looked really good for a debut. Good takedown D, really fast hands, some slick jits. I mean, she showed it all off. That was a great debut.
That does it, boys, for this week's lightning round. And that does it for our recap of UFC Fight Night, Rozenstruik versus Almeida. And let's put a bow on this one by finding out who rose and fell in Mark's very own rankings system that he meticulously maintains that we call the Priaulx Rankings.
All right, so there was a lot of movement of people like 2 spots up and down. So I tried to cut most of those out, and I just left us with 3 risers to discuss this week who were kind of the significant ones. So to work up the card, we'll do the one we just talked about, which is Tainara Lisboa, who debuted. Obviously was not ranked. She is now already my number 17 ranked women's bantamweight. So a nice start for her as she gets into the mix. The next one, the boy Brian Battle, goes from my number 51 to my number 30 ranked welterweight.
Wow.
That was a big win for him.
Yeah.
Gabe Green's a guy who has a win over Phil Rowe, established fighter. Big jump for Brian Battle. And then the last one, as you may have guessed, Ian Garry goes from number 28 to number 16 in my welterweight rankings. He has not quite broken through to the top 15. I think the UFC has him at 14, I want to say, when I looked. So I have him at 16 myself.
What do you have D-Rod at now?
Might be directly under. Yeah, 17.
17? Damn.
This might be the first time I'm officially protesting the Priaulx rankings. The UFC, for a record, the UFC has him at 13. He entered at 13.
13? Wow.
So who's 14 and 15 in the UFC?
Currently, it is Jack Della Maddalena and Michelle Pereira.
That's a fight.
I do have him over Jack, just because I feel like he's beaten the higher quality opponent than Jack. Jack is kind of right under him. And I have him over Ferreira, too. So who the fuck do I have over that they don't?
You must have somebody here that they don't have.
They don't have RDA in the rankings, which is the stupidest thing in the history of the world. So that's one, and RDA is certainly ahead of Ian Garry.
He's still in the lightweight rankings, though, at number 9.
Yeah, I mean, his last fight was at welterweight, and he's booked at welterweight now. Like, what are we doing? And then, I debated this one for a long time. I have Kevin Holland 1 spot in front of Ian Garry. I was very torn, and I went Holland. And
Bro, Holland's not even in the top 15 right here.
Yeah, I know. Which is fair. Like, I get it. He's a difficult guy to rank. But
yeah.
Just to give you a little peek into my thought process. And that is it for the Priaulx rankings.
Let's move on to Bellator 296 recap. Mousasi versus Edwards. So it went down title eliminator bout between former Bellator middleweight champion Gegard Mousasi and Fabian Edwards were the headliners. Went down at the Accor Arena in Paris, France. Let's first talk about this main event in the middleweight division. Fabian Edwards gets it done over Gegard Mousasi by unanimous decision after 5 rounds. What do you guys want to say about this? Mark?
Sorry, I just realized Garry is 15 in my rankings. I was not taking out the champ. I forgot
Let's fucking go, baby.
I forgot to, because he's 16 on the list, but it's because I have my champs as 1. So
I will take 15. Ian Garry for the win. Priaulx rankings are back, baby. Let's go.
As I fuck up the Bellator clip that we're inevitably cutting that now starts with me talking about Ian Garry. Back to Bellator. So is this going to be just me here doing a Bellator run through? Unfortunately.
So I watched the Lima fight, the Primus fight, and the Edwards fight.
Oh, you did. All right, boom, sweet. All right, so what are we doing? Mousasi to start.
Yeah.
Tough one. I mean, first off, props to Fabian Edwards. It is certainly not easy to beat any version of Gegard Mousasi, and Fabian Edwards did that, and he got it done. But I'm also going to call it like it is, and that is to say that was, without a doubt, the worst Gegard Mousasi I have ever seen. I did not like how he looked the entire fight. They both came out kind of tentative early. They were definitely trying to make their reads and feel the other out. I thought Fabian looked a little less stiff than Gegard did. I thought he looked stiff in the striking all fight long. Then round 2, Fabian kind of almost falls into a takedown. And it was evident real quick that he didn't quite know what to do when he got there. Like, he was on top for a while, but all the strikes were from Gegard. He was trying to set things up. He eventually turns it around. He's pouring it on, and then he threw an illegal knee. So that sucked. He literally may have had a chance to get Fabian out of there in that moment. He really was pouring it on him, and instead he throws an illegal shot. I do think he intended for it to hit the body. Fabian raised his knee right as he was throwing it, and it kind of bounced off Fabian's knee, and instead of hitting the body, it then bounced up to the head. So it got redirected. I don't think he was trying to, throw the illegal shot, but he did. But even at that point, I'm sitting there like, all right, he has seen the avenue to victory now. He's going to take this thing right back to the ground. He sees the advantage he has there. And then round 3 comes, and there's zero effort from Gegard to accomplish that. He's just kind of sluggishly striking with Fabian again. And Fabian's a pretty slick striker. Like, you got to give it to him. He strikes a lot like his brother, actually. Yep. I can see a lot of Leon in him. And I really think Gegard's ego might have gotten in the way here, because they were talking about on the broadcast before the fight how everyone was telling Gegard that he had to take Fabian down and shouldn't risk striking with him, and that Gegard kept saying he was going to win the fight on the feet. So it kind of felt like to me as that fight was going on that he just didn't want to take Fabian down because it was so obviously there. Then he loses round 3, he's losing round 4, and finally midway through round 4, he goes for the takedown, and he's fucking dominant. As soon as he does, he's beating on him, he takes the back, Fabian gets up, he takes him down again. And I'm still like, as that round ends, I'm like, wow, like, did Gegard get 2 of these? Like, he might have. It might be 2-2. Maybe we could still pull this off. And then round 5 comes, and freaking Fabian takes Gegard down and just controls him the whole round and kind of lays on him, and Gegard can't get up. So that was a wild switch from seeing Fabian in round 2 look like he didn't even know what to do on top to being able to control him for all of round 5. So, I don't know, just an incredibly frustrating performance for me, for Mousasi in every way, especially on the feet. I thought he looked really lackluster for a guy who is so skilled on the feet. And, as I said, it was super disappointing. It's possible that maybe it's starting to be over here. I mean, it's been a hell of a run. It's been a ton of fights. The dude has been around forever. He's one of the few guys that fought in Pride that is still even actively fighting. I can't even think. Are there others? I guess Nick. Well, is Nick actively fighting? It's not shocking if we're finally hitting a wall. And in MMA, when dudes hit a wall, sometimes it will come quick. So we might be there. And who his biggest fan was in this fight is Johnny Eblen, because now seeing Gegard lose to Fabian Edwards, who is a guy that has lost to Austin Vanderford not too long ago, I think the shine kind of comes off Johnny Eblen a little bit, because that win doesn't maybe mean quite as much as we thought it was. Thought it did, excuse me. So we'll see. Maybe Eblen can look very dominant against Edwards and kind of grab that back. But yeah, just disappointing performance from Gegard.
Yeah, I mean, the striking for me, I think, was really where I had the most problem. And I wonder, as the fight progressed, even through the first round, I kept trying to think to myself, like, what is the issue here? You know what I mean? And I get the setups and things like that, but the setups were never actually used for anything. It just seemed like an entire round of setups.
Agree totally.
Right? We never actually tested the setups out. You have to do something to see if that setup worked, right? In order for you to figure out if you need to adjust or not. But Gegard spent 2, 3, 4 minutes maybe throwing jab, lead leg kick, jab, right kick, jab, cross, right kick. Like, he wasn't really doing much and just kind of leaning back. The only thing that I thought about was, and correct me if I'm wrong, Mark, because I thought I was going crazy a little bit. Gegard is normally a lefty. He's a southpaw normally. Right?
Fuck, I didn't even think about this. Was he fighting that whole fight switch?
He was fighting the whole fight orthodox, and it's because the Edwards brothers are both southpags.
Yeah.
And so I expected going into that fight, I expected to see
so weird.
I expected Edwards and Gegard to be fighting southpaw versus southpaw, which I thought even still was going to be a fucking weird fight for at least one of them, because think about it like this. It's difficult for guys to fight lefties when they're orthodox because you don't see a ton of lefties out there. But the only person who sees less fucking lefties than the orthodox guys are other lefties. They don't see it either. So it's not natural for a lefty to just as easily fight another lefty. A lot of times they're trained to fight orthodox fighters. It's still backwards in the end. So I don't know if Gegard made a conscious decision to fight most of that fight orthodox when I feel like he fights these things southpaw. I didn't even go back and check.
Now I'm debating this. I think Gegard's always orthodox, dude.
Is he?
You got my mind fucked up when you first said it.
Like I feel like
I don't think Gegard's a southpaw.
Either way, I wonder if the southpaw thing really played into it. Because
I mean, yeah, that's still a good point.
He looked uncomfortable. He looked 100% uncomfortable throughout a majority of that fight in every part of the stand-up. You know what I mean? He had a couple little things here and there, but he just couldn't figure it out. He couldn't find the entry. He couldn't find the momentum to keep anything going. And I thought Edwards stood out a little bit, right? Like the ground game was evident, but the striking I thought was so damn good and so crisp and on point, and he was wrecking Mousasi's body. I mean, working that dude's ribs with his kicks. And there's not a lot of damage you really need to take in there before it starts to affect your cardio, before it starts to affect your physical ability to like keep your shit together. And Edwards was ripping him a lot throughout those 5 rounds. So, yeah, it was a good performance from Edwards, man. I was impressed by Edwards in that fight. I thought he looked great.
Yeah. Mark, you want to talk to us about the co-main?
Well, so I'll match these guys up first real quick before we move on. I mean, the Fabian Edwards one, they booked it in the cage. They literally announced the date in the cage that he is going to fight Johnny Eblen for the title. So that one is a given. Or actually, I say I'll match them up. I'm not even going to really match Gegard up. I just don't know what is left for him in Bellator. Like, it's hard because if he was in the UFC, like, I'm sure there's like another legend type guy where we could be like, let's go that route. It'll be a fun one. In Bellator, like, what do you do? Is he just going to keep fighting up and comers at 185? Like, I don't know if that's what he needs to be doing right now. I guess he could go to 205 and fight like a Yoel Romero or something, which could be fun. But it seems like there's not a ton of options for what is even worth doing for Gegard Mousasi at this point.
Okay. Gegard is orthodox, by the way. I did look it up. Yeah,
but still, as you said, the fighting a lefty may have troubled him.
Yeah, I don't know why I thought that dude fought southpaw. I have no idea what. Yeah, I know.
But yes, Mike, I would love to talk about the co-main. Are you introing me, or am I just going into it?
Just do it.
Dive into it.
All right. So in the co-main, in the lightweight Grand Prix to see who would get the next title shot against Usman Nurmagomedov, we had Brent Primus against Mansour Barnaoui. And what an awesome fight this was, especially in front of the French crowd pulling for Barnaoui. It was a fun one. And Barnaoui started off hot. Like, when he is on, he's a fucking wood chipper, man. Like, he was putting Primus through it in round 1. Nasty clinch work, but Primus was withstanding it. You could tell from the jump, like, he was like, I'm not going to be going away in this fight. And he landed a real clean combo right at the end of round 1 just to kind of get some respect back and let him know he was there. And then round 2, we saw an immediate takedown from Primus, and then we just got treated to what was a beautiful chess match on the ground. Both guys trying to set things up, both guys kind of moving to stay safe. But all in all, Barnaoui was kind of stuck, man, and I said it last week. Brent Primus is a really, really sticky grappler, and he's hard to get off you. And Barnaoui finally did it with like 20 seconds left in the round, but by that point it was a clear Primus round, and it was 1-1 after 2. Then round 3, Barnaoui comes out and picks up the pace big from jump. He's striking in tight in the clinch. He hurt Primus bad. Primus dropped for a second. I thought it was going to be it. Barnaoui got on top. It seemed like it was all going his way. And then the next thing you know, Brent Primus is on top, and he's trying to lock in a choke. Like, the dude was just absolutely not going away easy in that fight. He's really just a very strong and impressive grappler. He was still down 2-1 at that point, only 2 rounds left. But then round 4, he manages to drag it down again. He locks up an arm triangle that looked real tight at times,
Yep.
and Barnaoui just kind of sat there in it, man. You could tell his level of grappling to sit in there the way that he did, because it was like 2.5 minutes and adjustments and different squeezes. I started to think Primus was going to burn his arms out. But Barnaoui survived it, and it was all knotted going into the 5th, and Primus came out and got another takedown. And I said it last week, I thought the grappling could be tough for Barnaoui. As good of a grappler as he is, Primus is just a strong, sticky dude, and it was even tougher than I thought it would be, the grappling. Primus controlled him all round 5. He took the back, and he got himself out of there with a really, really gutty win because he was hurt multiple times in that fight and had some bad optics multiple times in that fight and still managed to get it done. And he certainly won the decision 48-47. Huge win for Brent Primus.
100%.
Yeah, nice.
The thing I loved about this fight is for all the back and forth, all the momentum shifts, all the absolute craziness in this fight, every round to me was pretty clear who had won, right? Yeah. And we really did get to the end of round 4, and it was really 2-2 going into that round 5, and I don't think there was any question about it. And these boys went, I mean, this was an absolute war from the beginning of round 1 all the way to the end of round 5. I don't even know how many chokes this guy Primus put this man in. I lost count after 3. It was out of control. The whole fight was absolutely crazy. Barnaoui is an absolute savage too. Like, he also, by the end of that fight, was a little fucked up and was still coming forward and still trying to crack Brent Primus and still trying to wreck this man on the feet. I mean, Brent Primus is a wrestler. Barnaoui seems to be... What is Barnaoui, actually? What is his actual style?
He's kind of a mix. He's a solid striker, and most of his wins are by sub. He's like a finishing style of submission guy, but the problem was he was just up against a dude with really high level grappling.
I asked that because both of these guys I feel like could do very well in BKFC. That whole fight was basically a bare knuckle fight with gloves on. They were holding onto the clinch, throwing uppercuts, smashing each other in the face. I mean, it was a beautiful fight to watch. I mean, there was definitely technique in there, but there was, at the end of the day, some real raw attrition that had to go into that. And it was a hell of a fight. Absolute barn burner.
Yeah. Yeah, I called last week that I thought Barnaoui was going to have to look to the clinch to win that fight, and he certainly felt the same way because he tried, but could only get 2 rounds out of it. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, as I mentioned, we're now going to get Brent Primus against Usman Nurmagomedov for the title in the semifinals of the Grand Prix. And, man, if we ever get some grappling in that fight, it would be pretty amazing to see. But you got to think Usman maybe just looks to keep that one on the feet, and that maybe he can do a better job of that than Barnaoui could. As for Barnaoui, he is clearly an exciting fighter. He's skilled. I would give him a solid name. I don't think you really take him out of the mix because of that loss. I think he's earned another shot against a solid name. So I'm going to say another guy who recently lost in the tournament in Tofik Musayev. I think that'd be a quality, fun fight.
Nice. Just keep rolling, bud.
Oh, all right. Down the card, we have Douglas Lima making his middleweight debut in Bellator. Well, not debut because he once fought Gegard for the title, but officially making a move to middleweight at this point in his career and getting the UD win over Costello Van Steenis. Love to see Lima back in the win column. He certainly had a rough go there for a bit. And it was a good performance. The first round was pretty close, but I thought Van Steenis was generally first, and Lima was kind of waiting to counter, but not always getting off. Plus, Van Steenis mixed in some takedowns. I mean, Lima was up quick, but I think Van Steenis did enough to go up 1-0. But in the second round, Lima got going. He started actually throwing. The kicks were working. The patented Douglas Lima leg kicks were doing damage. He got noticeably less passive. And then round 3, he landed a huge right over the top, wobbled Van Steenis, closed in with like a nice combo, but Van Steenis kind of did do well to survive and clear the cobwebs. And then I thought we were going to get a really exciting final, whatever it was, 2-3 minutes, because I thought Van Steenis would know that he obviously had a push to try to take that round back. And he shot takedowns, sure, but Lima was stuffing those. And I really thought that Van Steenis was going to have to open up on the feet and go for it, but he didn't. And Lima kind of just knew he was ahead, and he played it safe for those final minutes, and he got out of there with the W. So, good on him. I thought Van Steenis could have maybe pushed it a bit more, but it's a nice win for Lima, and we'll see what he can do now at middleweight because it's definitely interesting to see him up there.
90% of this fight was a Muay Thai fight. It was very interesting to try and bring that to Douglas Lima just straight on, right? Like he had, there were a couple of moments, like you said, like Steenis went for takedowns almost kind of towards the end of the round. And I think a lot of that probably comes from his lack of confidence in being able to really land and do something with him. I think he was trying to do it mainly for points, maybe to edge out the round, try to play that game in the judge's eyes. But that was a Muay Thai fight. And 2 and 3, I thought Douglas Lima really had his range, really had the timing, was countering very well, was stuffing a lot of the forward movement from Steenis. I give Steenis credit though, man. Like, I mean, the kid was game for sure. I just don't think he fought the right fight. I think he played a Muay Thai only fight and didn't really consider that that's probably not where you want to be with Douglas Lima, to be honest. I think just like, what was the fight we were just talking about where we had a Gegard? Maybe a little bit of pride, a little bit of ego went in there. Maybe Steenis really thought he could just walk in there and just bang with Douglas Lima like he's not Douglas Lima. I don't know, but it didn't work out for him.
Okay, Gouti?
Yeah, the last one. This would be I'll say real quick, sorry, before we move on. I would love to see Douglas Lima and Anatoly Tokov. Tokov's always been a guy that I like in that Bellator middleweight division. Been around a while. Obviously, Lima has as well. I think seeing the two of them go at it would be a fun matchup. Moving on to this fight that you said. Thibault Gouti, or actually Gouti is what we realized it was on the broadcast,
Gouti.
Which we should have known because the dude was in the UFC for like 6 fights, but somehow I forgot that it's Gouti. But yeah, he gets a round 2 knockout of Kane Mousah. This was a very fun fight. Both guys were going for it. It was Gouti who had the better grasp of the range early. I'm sure the 5-inch reach advantage was helping with that. He dropped Kane with a really nice combo in round 1. But then we got to round 2, and Kane Mousah is just walking Gouti down. He's pressuring. Gouti starts to look like maybe the pace is wearing on him a bit. And just as you're thinking like, man, Mousah may be taking over this fight, Gouti just lands a picture-perfect counter right hook backed up against the fence, and it was a 3-piece combo that he threw. First 2 got blocked. Third one certainly did not, and Kane went out. So it was a great finish from Gouti, and the Paris crowd was loving it.
Very nice.
And that will wrap up the Bellator recap here.
Okay, with that being said, let's keep this train rolling along and go inside the MMA sphere with Omar Artola. Omar, what's going on in the world of MMA outside of the cage?
A fucking lot.
A fucking lot. A fucking lot. I'm going to go through some lighter stuff because we're going to have to talk about this Francis Ngannou stuff. We're going to have a conversation. This is not a Omar Tells. We're going to have a conversation about this because it's some pretty crazy shit. So really quick before we get into it, we had some more information on the PFL fighters that were suspended. So looks like Bruno Capizzola was suspended 9 months for drostanolone, which is an anabolic steroid, against his fight against Matthias Scheffel. It's been overturned to a no contest. The dude's got to pay like $11,000 in fines. Jocko, 6 months, tested positive for clomiphene, a selective estrogen receptor modulator commonly used as a fertility drug that can also alter testosterone levels in men. Weird flex. He is eligible to compete again after October 1st. He's got to pay about $6,500 in fines or from his purse, and then another $300 from prosecution fees. Alejandro Flores suspended 6 months, testing positive for furosemide, a diuretic, which I believe is supposed to help people cut weight in a fucked up way. So he's getting fined just under $3,000. His fight against Daniel Torres was overturned to a no contest. He's able to compete again after October 1st. Thiago Santos suspended, tested positive for clomiphene, which again is the selective estrogen receptor module. Basically can alter testosterone levels in men. I'm assuming it can be either used to alter it in a great way or to like mask how much you've actually altered it or haven't altered it or whatever. Not really sure how that works, but that's kind of what it sounds like. Let's see. Daniel Torres still suspended after drostanolone, an anabolic steroid. Cesar Ferreira. Jesus Christ. Cesar Ferreira tested positive for clomiphene and 19 norandrosterone, a metabolite of nerandomilane and balandione. It's an anabolic steroid. So there's that. Mohamed Fakhreddin testing positive for drostanolone and stanozolol, another anabolic steroid. Also tested positive for GW1516, a non-specified substance in the class of hormone and metabolic modulators. All of that shit is banned, apparently. Rizvan Kunayev tested positive for everything, too. What is happening? What is happening in the PFL?
It's at the WWF, man.
These guys are on all the shit. Holy crap.
Is it the first time PFL has tested and they've just all been on this and now they got caught? Like, what? How the fuck do 9 guys pop on one card?
And not even popping for like a thing. These dudes are popping for like everything. This is crazy.
That's crazy.
So that's the update on that. That's pretty. 6 months too seems crazy. Everybody here is popping left and right. So I don't know what's happening here. Next on the list, really quick, we have a really weird story about Israel Adesanya. His ex-girlfriend Charlotte Powderell is taking legal action, bringing him to court with the intention of trying to get half of his shit. She says they were never married. They did not have any children together. They were just, quote, dating for way too long. And so she feels like she is entitled to half of his stuff.
Ooh. The dumbest fucking shit.
That is...
Never heard of my life. It just is.
Wild.
It's so wrong. It's so wrong.
It's wild. Absolutely crazy to me. But I hope that works out for her. I
hope it does not.
Well, again, it's a weird flex.
Sarcasm from Omar, I believe.
Yes. It is a weird flex, you know. Now your face is going to be plastered all over the place for what's it is seemingly gold digging event here. We went full fucking prospector out here, so I don't know. It's crazy. Another little tidbit: marijuana exemption for Nate Diaz ahead of the Jake Paul boxing bout has been denied.
No.
Omar's hot take: the fight is now in jeopardy of even ever happening.
It wouldn't shock me.
They ain't gonna let him burn. He ain't gonna do it. And I had to bring this up just because you guys know I like a good story, but it was finally revealed why. I mean, did we all know that Henry Cejudo and Brandon Moreno used to be boys, and then now they're not boys anymore? Yep. We're all in agreement there. We all knew that.
Yep.
So Eric Albarracin, the coach, that little chooch-ass coach of Henry Cejudo, came out with a explanation, or his side of the story, so to say, in detail as to what happened between that rift. You guys know I like some drama, I like some storytelling, so felt the need to share. So as it turns out, there was a time, obviously, if you don't know where Brandon Moreno had his start in the UFC, he was on a season of Tough, season 24 of Tough, and I believe it was Henry and what is this kid's name?
Benavidez?
The kid with the nip, thank you. I was going to say the kid with the nipple rings. Joseph Benavidez. So they were the coaches of the Ultimate Fighter. This was also the season where, and I don't think they did this every season, but they matched up seed for seed, right? So the opposite seed. So if you picked number 1 seed, then number 1 was immediately going to go to one team, and the 16th seed was going to go to the opposite team, and they were going to fight. To my understanding, they didn't know what the seeds were. Yeah, they didn't know who was what seed. They saw them train for like an hour or 2 hours or some shit just to get an idea of who they were going to pick. Now, Henry Cejudo actually pulled a Conor McGregor in that situation apparently, and somebody else in the house previous to that, to everything getting finalized, was actually removed, and Brandon Moreno was put in at Henry's request. So Moreno wasn't even going to be. He had just won, I believe, the LFA belt. He tried to make some noise to try to get into Ultimate Fighter. They didn't pick him automatically. Henry Cejudo used a little bit of his clout at the time to get Moreno into Tough. Again, according to Coach Eric. after that happened, everything, you would expect Henry Cejudo to pick Brandon Moreno. That's kind of how you would think that this thing was going to work, right? We've trained together, we live together, like we're boys, right? You trust that I'm good enough to win this thing. You should be picking me first. Then this is also the season where Alexandre Pantoja is on the season. And as it turns out, they saw that he was, they caught a peek at the seeds that Dana White was holding. And Alexander Pantoja was number 1. They didn't see apparently anything else, but they did see that Pantoja was number 1. So Coach Eric made the decision to tell Cejudo, let's get the number 1 pick. If we can get the number 1 pick, let's go with Pantoja, and we'll make a decision. I believe Tim Elliott was the first person who got picked in that season, if I remember right.
I think that's right.
But right, so I believe that was the first pick on the opposite team side, so on Benavidez's team, and then instead of picking Moreno, because they thought they could pick Moreno twice, they didn't think that that Benavidez would be dying to pick Moreno, right? So Henry's idea was we're going to pick the number 1 seed, or Eric's idea was we'll pick the number 1 seed and then we'll pick Moreno second. So they pick Pantoja. Pantoja's the number 1 seed. Who's number 16 seed? Moreno. Moreno immediately goes now to Benavidez's team. Friendship over.
Ooh.
Literally in that moment, the friendship was over. Partially because of, I think a lot of it had to do with how that worked out, how it looked, right? That they didn't pick Moreno. I think to Moreno, that was a dick move in and of itself, regardless of what you were trying to do. It seemed to be more Eric's call than Cejudo's call. And I think Cejudo, it sounds like, according to Eric as well, Cejudo was very embarrassed by it and felt pretty fucked up by it. Never went to the tough house during that season. And because he felt like he didn't really want to face Moreno about what had happened and about how things turned out. And they never really reconciled. They never really, it doesn't sound like they ever talked about it. They ever worked it out. And Moreno just was pretty much like, fuck that team from that point on.
Huh.
So that is the story.
You know what's funny about that season? You have all this juice about Moreno and Pantoja, and it's these two guys who are obviously studs now. And Tim Elliott won the season. Like, he was the correct first pick by Joseph Benavidez.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Okay, before we move on to the next story, do you guys want to pause, or should I just go pee? Because I'm going to pee my pants right now.
You can just go.
Okay,
just go.
Keep talking. Talk all this shit you want to talk.
Mute yourself, though, if you're going to go, right next to the computer.
You're going to hear, oh.
All right. So I think the next story that we got here is the big mama, the big cheese.
You want to do the fight announcements then before that way we wait for Mike?
Do we want to do the fight? Okay, we can do that. We can do some fight announcements here. We got a lot of these too. So let's just start off from the top. We'll run through these bad boys and then we'll get into the Ngannou bit in a little bit. So starting off the list here, we got Christian Leroy Duncan versus Armin Petrosian. That fight has been added to UFC Vegas 75 on June 17th. Next card that we got here is UFC Vegas 16th on July 1st. That one has added Damir Ismagulov versus Grant Dawson. And it's also added Vince Pichel versus Benoit Saint-Denis. That's a good fight. Yeah. That's a good fight.
Yeah.
Next one we have has been added to UFC 290 on July 8th. That is International Fight Week. We have Vitor Petrino versus Marcin Prachnio. For the UFC London card on July 22nd, we've got a couple of fight announcements in Mahmoud Muradov versus Brian Barberena. That is a good fight. Andre Feely versus Nathaniel Wood. I don't know how I feel about that choice necessarily, but I think it's going to be a good fight.
I like that fight.
Oh,
yes. What weight is Barberena Muradov? Because Muradov is middleweight.
Middleweight.
Oh, so Barberena's going up to middleweight.
He's going up.
Wow. Okay.
Yep. And then the last fight we have here for the UFC London card that's been added was Andre Muniz versus Paul Craig. A note here, Paul Craig is going down to middleweight to fight Andre Muniz. So this is a interesting turn of events here in the career of Paul Craig.
Yeah.
Very interested to see what he looks like at weigh-ins because
I can't imagine.
He doesn't seem like a big dude or like he doesn't have a lot of he doesn't have a lot more to take out.
Just
you
like
know
a
what I
big
mean?
jacked man. Like I'm not sure where 15 pounds is coming off from. Excuse me,
like
20 pounds, 20 pounds.
I hope he's like tried it out. I hope we're not going into this blind, like hoping 185 works. You know?
Yeah, that's the biggest cut in the game, light heavyweight to middleweight.
We basically have at least the entire main card here of UFC 291, which is going down on July 29th. This card is going to be absolutely stacked. We have Stephen Thompson versus Michel Pereira. We have Derek Lewis versus Marco Rogerio de Lima. We have Tony Ferguson versus Bobby Green. That is you have to know how sick that fight is. We have Jan Blachowicz versus Alex Pereira. We have Paula Costa versus Ikram Aliskerov, which is, for those of you who may not know him by his name, because that's totally valid, this is the gentleman who recently just knocked out Phil Hawes and sent him to the Shadow Realm. We have Michael Chiesa versus Kevin Holland, which is
incredible.
I mean, Jeff's kiss on that one, ladies and gentlemen. And we have the pièce de résistance, the headliner for, I guess, the vacant BMF belt, the silver belt of the UFC. We have Dustin Poirier versus Justin Gaethje, two of the most violent human beings in the entire roster of the UFC, fighting for this belt now that Masvidal has made a graceful exit. That will round out UFC 291. BMF bullshit aside, that fight is... I know it's number 2, but like, I want it like if it never happened. It's so good.
You know what's so interesting about that fight being booked? Like, say that fight is awesome. Say someone wins it in like big fashion. And say Beneil beats Charles Oliveira. Are they going to be like, well, Beneil, like, I get it that you won, but like, did you see what just happened in this Poirier game? Like, it presents the chance again for Beneil to get fucked.
It does, because Beneil is still technically ranked lower than both Justin and Dustin.
Yeah, I mean, granted, if you beat Charles, maybe not, but
yeah. But which one comes first at this point?
I don't know. Good question. I gotta think Dariush comes first.
What a fight!
I would imagine so, but I don't know. July is right around the corner.
His is June.
June. Okay. Well, it's all gonna happen right away. One is gonna basically be right behind the other. So yeah. I think we'll get our answer pretty quickly once it's all said and done. Last couple fight announcements here. Lando Venata back in the mix. I guess he didn't listen to our podcast. Just shocking. He is fighting Mike Breeden, and this is going down August 12th on UFC Vegas 78. The last two fights we have rounding out are going to headline and co-headline the August 19th card in Boston. That is going to be Zhang Wei Li versus Amanda Lemos and Aljamain Sterling versus Sean O'Malley. I really thought they were going to capitalize on the Yan Xiaonan thing. Kind of sad that they didn't. I wonder if it's more of a timeline thing, because the China thing I didn't think was going to be an overnight bit. But this is a risk, man, because does that fight even make sense if Yan Xiaonan or if Wei Li loses right now? Because it seems weird. Seems like a real Hail Mary of a thing right now. But I guess it is what it is.
I've been seeing a lot of stuff from Aljamain's team saying that they're shocked this is the date that was announced and that they think it's a bullshit turnaround.
It is, as far as champions are concerned, I think it is a relatively quick turnaround time. This is something that happened with Volkanovski, but more voluntarily from Volkanovski's end. Like, Volkanovski wanted a lot more activity, and so I think the turnaround time for him was unusually quick. But Aljamain didn't really want to do a turnaround time this quick, and I don't think he was given really a lot of options when it comes to that stuff. So I don't know. I think he'll be okay, though, to be honest. It sounds like he still has a little bump and bruise here and there.
Yeah, he was saying he's pretty banged up, that he's pretty heavy. Just,
Yeah.
I guess, long story short, they thought they were going to have another month.
Yeah, but at this point, he might maybe have a few weeks off, and then he has to probably get right back into training camp at the beginning of June at the latest.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's all we got as far as fight announcements are concerned. Let's get into the big news now that Mike is back. Francis Ngannou has officially signed a contract with PFL.
Oh, yeah.
As it turns out, PFL has basically been the company for quite some time, despite all the rumors of Ngannou dropping the bag and all this other bullshit. PFL has been talking with Francis Ngannou from almost the very beginning of his free agency, and they offered him quite a bit of shit that is quite unprecedented in the MMA world. He has kind of put the MMA world on its head a little bit with this new development and kind of, I would imagine, to a certain extent, breaking the ceiling of what things are possible for active MMA fighters in PFL, in the MMA world in general. And PFL is setting a new standard for how they do business in the MMA world, apart from how the other companies are doing business as well. So very interesting stuff. I'm going to go through, hopefully pretty quickly, the kind of little highlights here and there. So Ngannou's contract in the PFL will probably be for about 2 or 3 fights, according to Ngannou. It does guarantee a high 7-figure purse for each bout and a split of the event profits as well. His opponents are also going to be getting a minimum of $2 million, apparently.
Wow.
Whoever fights him. So I think that that's kind of amazing.
Yeah.
On top of that, he is also not bound to the PFL the way that a lot of people are obviously bound to the UFC. So if Ngannou wants to go box, he has the ability to go box. A couple of the other additions that are also interesting is the freedom now to have a certain amount of sponsors. So PFL doesn't really allow the racetrack look, but they do allow 2 or 3 sponsors that are pre-approved by the PFL's execs for use. So Ngannou can come out with 2 or 3 things on his shorts and make a shit ton of money that is apart from the PFL and, make a living that way as well. Something that I think the UFC might want to take into consideration, but the way that the uniforms are made right now, especially with the sponsors that they have, I doubt we'll see that going forward, at least not for right now. But that was a big thing for Ngannou as well. And I think one of the considerations when it came to the UFC, it sounds like he kind of had half foot out the door by the time he was, fighting towards the end of his contract in the UFC. And I think a lot of that had to do with their outlook on on what Francis really wanted. Because the reality is I think he took a big pay cut, right? If we look at just cash, the UFC was talking about offering him $20 million, I think, or some crazy shit. And he's not making $20 million, I don't think, in the PFL. But he's got a lot of these other things on the table apart from just straight up cash money. One of the other things he ended up getting as well is a seat on the Fighters Advisory Board on the PFL. The interesting thing to keep in mind is the PFL already had this advisory board in place. This isn't like a new thing that they did for Ngannou. But what makes this interesting is that this is the first active fighter on that board. Currently, they have Randy Couture on that board, so it's not like they haven't had a fighter before. But Ngannou is going to be an active fighter sitting on this board and being a part of a lot of the big decision-making going down in the PFL, one of which apparently he said had to do with how the $2 million for his opponents came to be. So it'll be interesting to see how much this impacts the MMA world going forward, the small and subtle changes it might bring to how people negotiate, what people look for, things that they might be able to get, things that maybe promoters going forward might be able to move in that direction as far as changes and things like that are concerned. So I think it's very, very interesting. And it sounds like Ngannou's very happy. I don't think he fumbled the bag at all. I think, in fact, he did something that was not only courageous, but did something that, again, is unprecedented and could change a lot going forward.
Yeah, he has a seat at the table. It seems like it's what he wanted.
And he's the first to have it. And for all of John Jones's, and John Jones had to have a chirp about it, of this or that about it, talking about, how can you call yourself the baddest, who calls themselves the baddest man to the planet across the street, right? And Ngannou's response, I thought, was pretty dope, though. He says, well, then cross the street, which considering the circumstances, I thought it was a beautiful response. But when you look at how Ngannou did his thing and how Jones is now signed to an 8-fight deal that he's probably not going to fight out and is probably going to stay stuck to for the rest of his life, it's a weird flex to talk shit about a man who seemingly got everything he asked for and something that people didn't even know that they could ask for.
I mean, I don't think John thinks it's a weird flex because I think he is a guy who looks at it from the competition standpoint, and I don't think John Jones would ever fight in the PFL a day in his life because he would feel like he was in the minor leagues, especially in the heavyweight division. As good as PFL is and has become in many of the divisions, at heavyweight it is paling in comparison to the UFC roster.
Sure.
So I think John looks at it more that way personally. But I agree, Francis did get a lot of what he wanted. He got this ability to, I guess, help set up a PFL Africa, which was a big thing he had always wanted in the UFC that hadn't happened.
I did miss that.
Yeah, I was going to say, I heard a lot of what you said. I didn't think that was in there, so that's another key point as well. So, yeah, I mean, look, he did well. I hate all these people saying, oh, he was afraid to fight John Jones, blah, blah. It's so fucking stupid. If John Jones was back sooner, they would have fought in the UFC already. Like I promise you, Francis Ngannou was not afraid to fight John Jones. I promise you. It had
also this take that John Jones needed 3 years to quote unquote prepare. You can keep riding that fucking wave if you want. I'm not sold on that at all. I'm not saying he was afraid of Francis, but the idea that everybody is supposed to just like stay there and make weird fucking decisions just so they can fight John Jones is odd to me. No one's waiting around for John Jones. No one should be holding their breath for John Jones. God knows the man has dropped that like responsibility more than enough times in his career for anybody to do such a thing. I think Francis Ngannou really comes out on top here. It seems to me like John Jones has a contract that doesn't allow him to properly live a combat life. Like even let's say, for example, John Jones right now isn't even thinking about anything else. And I don't doubt that for a minute. I think his focus is totally UFC, totally gold belt. Why else do I need to do anything else? Dude's not going to go box, right? I totally get that. But the idea that he wouldn't even give himself the opportunity to be open to something coming up, something that might be exciting, that he has to ask Dana for permission, that he has to be put in that position where Francis doesn't. Who has more freedom? Who has the better contract? Is John making, you know what I mean, $10 million plus pay-per-view? Is he making more than Francis Ngannou cash money? Maybe. Yeah. But who really has the better contract? Because I would argue it's Ngannou.
Yeah, I mean it's the same thing. I don't know if we all made this point, but I know I certainly made it. That I said back when this news first broke of Ngannou leaving the UFC. It's that he has now made out great. He got a lot of the things that he wanted. He's going to be fine financially, all this, but he had to sacrifice what could have been a furthering of his legacy because he cannot do it now. Your legacy is not going anywhere further than it is right now by fighting Ante D'Elia or Bruno Capoloza or Dennis Goltsov. And yeah, there's this rumor of the PFL buying Bellator, but even if they do, like, all right, does it even happen soon enough that Ryan Bader's still fighting? Valentin Moldavsky, Linton Vassell, like, all right, it's, you know, it's names. It's not anyone who would have even made it to a level of fighting Francis Ngannou in the UFC. So he has absolutely had to sacrifice that. Now, granted, he might stand in a boxing ring across from Tyson Fury or Deontay Wilder. And he has alluded to the fact himself that he's actually been getting more traction lately with Deontay Wilder. So I don't know what happened on the Fury front because they both seemed like they were like absolutely ready to make that happen. He kind of said it's now seeming like Wilder has moved to the forefront. And he did say that he would want to take a quote-unquote warm-up boxing fight before that, which I thought was going to mean like a lesser guy. I mean, it's lesser, but then he was like, I think maybe Anthony Joshua. So not exactly the warm-uppest warm-up you ever heard of. But what he is saying is Anthony Joshua in Africa as his first fight. And then if he was to win that, Deontay Wilder. So certainly a chance to stand across from some big names in the boxing ring. Granted, can he even beat Anthony Joshua to even get to the next fight? I mean, I want to say no, as much as Anthony Joshua has been a bit disappointing.
I was going to say, out of the three you named, Anthony Joshua would be the one I'd go with, too, at least to begin with.
Yeah, oh, yeah. So, his legacy, it'll be a weird one. It's what happens in boxing. If he can get a win, I guess it goes through the roof. But his MMA legacy is not getting added to anytime soon by knocking out some random guys.
Yeah. That's it.
Okay. Shall we move on to this weekend's Fight Night card?
Let's do it.
Okay. So this weekend at the UFC Apex in Vegas is UFC Fight Night Dern versus Hill. Just remember, this event was supposed to be headlined by a rematch in the women's bantamweight division between Raquel Pennington and Irene Aldana. The pair fought previously in 2019, with Pennington winning by split decision. Although they were initially expected to headline another event, it did not happen. Aldana was pulled from the rematch in May, and she was chosen to replace someone else in UFC Women's Bantamweight Championship fight against the current champ Amanda Nunes. And Pennington will now serve as the backup for that fight. As a result, the women's strawweight bout between Mackenzie Dern and Angela Hill was now moved from this past weekend's card to this coming weekend's card. So, let's get into this. Before we talk about a handful of fights from this card, any other fights or fighters that you guys want to highlight for our viewers?
I mean, there's a few decent names and a few decent fights on this card, to be honest. I guess I'll just name a couple and I'll let Mark do another couple. But the Mahashate fight versus Vyacheslav Borishev, it's actually a pretty damn decent fight, for being completely honest. It'll be very wild, probably a little sloppy, at least towards the middle or end if it gets that far, but a very fun stylistic matchup right there. And then you also have Gilbert Urbina back in the mix as well, against Orion Koske,
I think is how they say it. I could be wrong.
Koske. But that should be a good fight as well.
I think Koske. I don't know.
Koske. Orion Koske. But yeah, that should be a good fight as well. Definitely keep an eye out for that one. Gilbert Urbina is a fun dude to watch. So.
Yeah, I was going to highlight the Borishev fight myself. He, we saw him in his debut, what kind of striker this man is, and then he's had to stand across from two wrestlers since that time, which is not exactly a part of his game that he has shored up yet. But Mahashate, as much as maybe he can wrestle a bit, we've seen him pretty predominantly strike. So we may get to see Borishev show off here, which will be something that you want to tune into because he is filthy in the striking department.
Yeah.
What else can we see on here? I like the Ilir Latifi Rodrigo Nascimento fight. Nascimento's been a pretty solid up-and-comer at heavyweight. Latifi will definitely be his biggest test to this point. It'll be interesting to see if he can pass that one. Chase Hooper moving up to lightweight.
Carolina and Vanessa Demopoulos are on this card too.
Yeah, that's a solid one too.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let's get into it. First fight we're going to take a look at. Going down in the lightweight division, Diego, is it Ferreira or Ferreira or something like that?
I think it's Ferreira.
Is it?
Let's go with it.
It's Ferreira.
Ferreira?
Is it Ferreira?
Damn Brazilians, man.
Is it the double R that becomes a H?
I thought all R's can either become a H or a tap, like a R.
Oh, for fuck's sake.
I thought a double R is a H.
All right, he's Ferreira for now. I'm kidding. I could do whatever.
Diego Ferreira.
I guess we'll find out on Saturday.
Yeah, we will.
It's been a year and a half since he fucking fought, so I can't remember.
Michael Johnson taking on Diego Ferreira. Ferreira, the 38-year-old out of Brazil, 17-5, with notable wins over Jared Gordon and Anthony Pettis and Olivier Aubin-Mercier. Finds himself on a 3-fight losing streak, hoping to get back in the win column against the veteran Michael Johnson. Michael the Menace Johnson, the 36-year-old out of Springfield, Missouri, 21-18 as a pro, 9 knockouts. Most recently, a decision victory over Mark Jacasey back at UFC on ESPN 42 back in December. Mark, kick us off here. Give us your take of this lightweight clash between Michael Johnson and Diego Ferreira.
All right, so the odds are pretty close. Ferreira is the favorite. He's minus 155. Michael Johnson is a plus 130 underdog. Diego Ferreira is a much more established and like higher up the pecking order type of fighter than I expected Michael Johnson to be getting right now. I was a little surprised by that booking. But with that said, I actually think Michael Johnson is very live in this fight, and I've struggled to pick this one because Diego Ferreira is a great scrambler and grappler, but he's not exactly a hold you down type of wrestler, and that's kind of Michael Johnson's weakness, is that he can get held down. But if Ferreira's not necessarily that guy, and Johnson's going to have time on the feet, then I think this gets really interesting. Not to mention MJ has great takedown defense, so even getting him to the mat could be a problem for a guy who's not like a top shelf type of wrestler. I know we saw Clay Guida get Michael Johnson down a bunch like a couple years back, but that's a different style of wrestler than what Ferreira is. And as good as he is overall, he's not the greatest striker in the world, and he's fighting a guy in MJ who's going to be way faster than him. Like, the hands on Michael Johnson are still lightning. Add in the fact that Diego Ferreira is 38, and he's coming off a 1.5-year-long layoff. And I know MJ is 36 himself. It's not like he's some young up-and-comer or anything, but I think I'm going to roll with the dog here. I don't know if my love of Michael Johnson is blinding me a bit, but I really think he can get it done. I'm nervous because I have seen too many times someone get a hand around Michael Johnson's neck and it just goes south, and Diego Ferreira is certainly capable of that, but I don't know, something about the rust and the age and the way Michael Johnson has been looking lately. Personally, I think he should be on a 3-fight win streak. I thought he beat Jamie Malarkey. I'm going to go with him. I think he can stuff a couple, spend enough time on the feet, and catch Ferreira. I will say round 2 knockout.
Omar.
I know Mike was here and Diego Ferreira at 38, and he's like, for that reason, I'm out. I'm out. This is a rough one, man, because you make a lot of good points, but I have a real issue relying on Michael Johnson to keep his shit together for an entire fight. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I know that he won his last fight. You make a point with the Malarkey fight, and he won his fight before that, I think, via knockout. But Michael Johnson, his current record right now is 21-18. Like, he's basically a 50-50 fighter, right? We've seen his performances, and when shit gets rough for him, I don't want to say he quits, but like, he doesn't fight through. And those are moments that, for me, like, this fight to me is a little too close for me to rely on Michael Johnson keeping his shit together, because when he's on, he's on. But the moment he gets messed up, he has a hard time recovering. When he falls off the horse, he kicks that horse and lets that bitch run away. And so I really think that, Ferreira might have a rough round 1, and I really think it's going to be a rough round 1 for him. But I do think he comes back in round 2. And if it goes to round 3, I give Michael Johnson probably the least amount of shot there. So I'm going to go with Ferreira by submission, round 2.
Yeah, I'm also going to go with Ferreira because the biggest skill discrepancy to me is that of submission ability and ground skills. Michael Johnson has lost by submission 9 times in his MMA career.
Yeah,
9 times.
And Ferreira is something of a jiu-jitsu guy, so I'm going to go with jiu-jitsu. I wish I was Brazilian, man. They're the coolest. They're the coolest, man. I'll go with Ferreira by submission, and I'll say round 2.
We all said round 2.
Oh, baby.
Interestingly enough, different results.
Okay, in the welterweight division, Andre Fialho taking on Joaquin Buckley. Is it Joaquin or Joaquin?
No, it's Joaquin.
Excuse me, my mistake.
It's always been Joaquin.
It's never been Joaquin. I've never even fucking heard that in my life.
Mark, tell him who I'm conflating the name with. Thank you.
Of who?
Sports.
Noah,
sports.
Former...
It's sports. Is it a sports?
Yes,
it's a sports.
Yeah.
Joaquin Buckley, Andre Fialho. Fialho, the 29-year-old out of Lisbon, Portugal. 16-6 with 1 no contest. 13 of those 16 wins coming by way of knockout. He is looking to get himself back in the win column after back-to-back losses. Both times getting finished by Jake Matthews and Muslim Salikov, respectively. He will be standing across from Joaquin Mousah Buckley, the 29-year-old out of St. Louis, Missouri. He is 15-6 as a pro. 11 of his 15 wins have come by way of knockout. And he is also coming off back-to-back losses at the hands of Nasruddin Imavov and Chris Curtis. What a fine piece of matchmaking right here. Both guys 29. Very, very similar records. And both coming off back-to-back losses. And both of them have serious knockout power. Omar, kick it off this time.
This is, I don't know why I thought this man was Brazilian, but he is not. Doesn't even, nothing.
Fialho?
Yep, totally wrong. Not even a little bit.
Okay.
Yeah. Portuguese.
Yes, he's
Still
straight
Portuguese.
Portuguese.
In a Brazilian accent.
Original Portuguese.
Portuguese.
Yeah, this is an interesting fight, man. This is Joaquin going down to welterweight. One of these moments where he's like, I think they asked him why the change, and he's like, I'm tired of getting my ass knocked out at fucking middleweight. That's why.
Yeah.
I respect it. I am very interested to see what he looks like on fight night or on weigh-ins, though. He is a large human being. I'm sure there's a little bit of leeway that he has there to cut, but like, he's got he either loses muscle or he's killing his body, sucking liquid out, and I kind of want to see which route he took.
He'll look less meaty muscle than he
like less inflated.
Yes.
Yeah, he's jacked.
Dude, he's gigantic. The kid is massive,
And he's only 5'8".
The boobs won't be jiggling quite as much.
Right.
But Fialho is a problem, dude. Like he's not an easy fight at all. He's on a little bit of a rough tear, but he's not an easy fight by any stretch of the imagination. Joaquin is also on the same little bit of a streak as well. Both of them have gotten fucked up. Both of them have been in some grinds. I want to say that Buckley is a more dynamic striker, and I also think he should have enough acumen to be able to keep it from getting to the ground, at least on a consistent basis. I don't know how much he loses going to welterweight, though, and I think that's my biggest thing, right? Like, he's a strong dude. Even at middleweight against guys that are much bigger than him, he's a strong dude. But what are the sacrifices going down to middle to welterweight? Does he lose the explosiveness? Does he lose the cardio for 3 rounds? Does he lose a little bit of that strength? I mean, I'm sure he has some strength to spare in that sense, but we really don't know. We really don't know what he's going to look like and how that's going to work. Maybe he's a lot faster, that he's not carrying all that weight all at once. So we'll see. But I do think from a technique standpoint, I think that Buckley's just maybe a hair better. Definitely not afraid to strike, not afraid to get in there. So I'm going to go with Buckley. I think it's going to be a real fight, a real war. So I'm going to go with a round 2 KO.
Yeah, I too am going to go with Joaquin Buckley here. Him going down a weight class, I mean, with his height still is not even going to be like average for the weight class until you get down to like featherweight, I feel.
Yeah, dude.
So even for 170, he's giving up a lot of height. Fialho is a 6-footer. But yeah, I mean, just coming off of the back-to-back losses, I remember his fight specifically against Imavov. He was just too small. He couldn't find Imavov. Imavov was too big, too far away for him. And then the Chris Curtis fight. Chris Curtis didn't I think, outsize him that much, but it was just,
reach-wise, he did, definitely.
What's that?
Reach-wise, he definitely did.
Yes, exactly. That being said, I'm excited to see Buckley bring some new athleticism and explosiveness to this fight at 170. I'll take Buckley by round 3 knockout.
So he's a pretty solid favorite. He's minus 225.
Oh, wow.
Fialho is plus 180. And as you said, Buckley's 2 inches shorter, but wait for it. He has a 2-inch reach advantage. Never has he ever had a reach advantage. So
are you sure he's Are you sure he's 2 inches? Because they have him at 5'8" on SureDog. And I should probably look at the goddamn UFC fucking site.
I don't know. I was pulling it off Typology.
SureDog has Fialho at 6 foot and
Buckley at 5'8", right?
No,
they have Buckley at 5'10" on the UFC website. Oh, for fuck's sake!
Yeah.
All right,
somebody's lying.
I know.
But either way, 2-inch reach advantage. So that will be fun for Buckley to have for once. And I like this welterweight move for him. I really do. He's a talented guy who was always the smaller man at middleweight. And I think his skills can shine much more at 170, where he doesn't have to worry so much about being the smaller fighter all the time. And I think Fialho is a good first opponent because he's going to throw with him. And he has great hands. But not to echo too much of what Omar said, I'll kind of just sum it up. I think that Buckley is just too fast, carries a bit more power, and I think he can win these exchanges. I think he has the bit crisper technique. I think he's the less hittable of the two, and that he can be a little more evasive in the exchanges. Plus, we've seen him hang with higher-level guys than we've seen Fialho hang with, which gives me some comfort. So I'm going to say he can catch him. I'm going to say Joaquin Buckley round 2 knockout.
Like it. Okay, moving on. Women's strawweight division. Emily Ducote taking on Lupita Godinez. Ducote Gordinha, the 29-year-old fighting out of Oklahoma City, Oklahoma. She's 12-7 as a pro. 3 knockouts, 4 subs, 5 submissions. She has never been knocked out. She has been submitted, though. She is coming off of a loss against one of the co-headliners of this event, Angela Hill, back in December. That snapped a 4-fight win streak for her coming out of Invicta into the UFC. She will be standing across from Lupita Lupi Godinez, the 29-year-old out of Mexico. She is 9-3 thus far as a professional, with 1 knockout on her record, 1 sub, and 7 wins by decision. She's coming off of a split decision win over Cynthia Calvillo. Omar, why don't you start us off this time? Give us your take and your pick of Ducote versus Godinez.
You know, I really like Ducote. I think she got out-volumed and outworked by Angela Hill, and to be frank, that stuff can kind of happen. Angela Hill, especially on a good day, will kind of be able to outpace just about anybody in that division. So I don't take too much away from her from that. Lupi for me is kind of a toss-up, to be honest. You know, she has some hands, obviously, but there's nothing I think that she's exceptional at. And I think there's a lot of room for improvement, but there's also a lot of opportunity there when she fights. I think Ducote I think she's going to be better. I think she's an overall better fighter. I think she finds a lot of opportunities that Godinez is going to have in there. I think it's going to go a little bit later into the second round, maybe into the third round, but I do think Ducote gets a finish. I'm going to go with Ducote by submission. I'll go round 3.
Yeah, I'm going to go with the talent that I think is considerable of Lupita Godinez. I've been a Godinez fan since she has been in the UFC, and I'm going to take her by decision on the scorecards, 29-28 across the board. Mark?
So Lupi's the favorite. She's minus 155 despite coming in on the short notice. And Emily Ducote? What have you guys been saying?
I don't know.
Ducote? I don't know. It's sad that we watch people fight and can't remember their names.
I know.
She is plus 125. She has a 2-inch reach advantage, and I'm sure she's going to try to use it because the feet is definitely where her advantage lies. She's a pretty dangerous striker. And I was pretty torn here picking this because I want to go Lupi, but as good as she looks in certain fights, she's also very up and down in her performances. She'll have one where she looks dominant, and then another where you're like, not exactly sure what she's trying to do here. But as much as I think this is a coin toss that could absolutely go in any direction, I'm going to say that Lupi's pressure wins her this fight in the end. I think she's going to try to be all over Ducote, pressure, high pace, clinch work, takedowns if they come. I think she just prevents Emily from getting in any rhythm and kind of mucks the fight up just enough to get her hand raised. So I will say Lupi 29-28 UD.
Okay, co-main event in the middleweight division. Edmund Shabazian taking on Anthony Fluffy Hernandez. Shabazian, the 25-year-old, fighting out of Los Angeles, California. He is 12-3 as a pro with 10 knockouts on his record, coming off of a TKO victory over Dalcha Lungiambula back in December. He will be standing across from the rising Anthony Fluffy Hernandez, the 29-year-old out of California. He is 10-2 with 1 no contest, 7 wins coming by way of submission, and he has been on a tear, riding a 3-fight win streak coming into this weekend. Those 3 fights being against Rodolfo Vieira, Josh Fremd, and Marc-Andre Barrio back in September, most recently. I'll start us off here. Like I said, Anthony Hernandez has been on a tear. I loved what we've been seeing from him, especially of late. He looks like he has truly unlocked another level. And I will take Anthony Hernandez by submission in round number 2. Who would like to go?
I'll go. Omar's been going first all the times. Hernandez is the favorite, even wider than I expected. He is minus 220. Edmund Shabazian is plus 175 as the underdog. 2 inches of height on the Edmund side, but 1 inch of reach for Fluffy. And we are Team Fluffy over here. I love this guy. I like this matchup. Both guys have shown a lot of skills. The winner will certainly take a nice step forward here. But I do not think this is going to be a fun night for Edmund Shabazian. I really don't. He's a guy who has struggled some with pressure and with being out-grappled. Enter Anthony Hernandez. That is what he does. Like, yes, he's going to have to be careful. It's definitely his highest level opponent thus far. Edmund is a nasty striker, especially early. So he'll have to maybe walk a little tightrope in round 1. But he's always done pretty well defensively in the striking, Hernandez. So I trust him to get through any early moments. And I think that he's going to keep the distance all the way closed, all fight anyway. I think he's going to be in Edmund's face, leaning on him, pouring on a pace as much as he can. He's going to look to drag him down, wrap him up, and he's just too hard to keep off you. And I don't think Edmund has the right type of game to keep a guy like that off him. So I will go with Anthony Hernandez by sub as well. I will say it's in round 3 over a tired Edmund Shabazian.
That's fucking crazy. Here I am thinking that I'm going to go with this crazy-ass pick of Fluffy submission round 3, and we're all essentially on the same page.
Yeah.
This is
wild. He's a betting favorite, man. 2-1.
And that's the other thing, too. He's a betting favorite. Like, yeah. I really thought Fluffy was significantly underappreciated and underrated, and it does not seem to be the case. Like, people seem to recognize the issue that is Fluffy. Yeah, man, I really like the momentum that Fluffy's been on. I like Edmund as well. I really do. But his momentum has been a little bit different. His, the excitement that we have is for what seemingly was a resurgence against a guy who got cut directly afterwards because he frankly hadn't really looked good in the UFC goddamn ever. So it's hard for me to really take anything away from that performance. You know what I mean? I don't think this is a new amazing version of Shabazian. I think he fought a guy that made him look like a great new version of Shabazian. Fluffy ain't that guy. He ain't going to give you shit. He ain't going to allow you to style on him. Kevin Holland, I think, is probably the only guy that's really like messed him up in a quick and easy way. And people get caught, and that's a reality. And could he get caught in this fight? Absolutely. But I think Fluffy at this point is going to be the more dialed-in fighter. I think the more comfortable fighter. And I think he's just a little bit more well-rounded as well. You know, Shabazian is primarily a stand-up guy, and I think Fluffy can hang enough up top that if it goes down to the ground, if he wants it to go down to the ground, he's going to make it happen. But like Mark said, I trust Fluffy's cardio more and his resilience more. The longer this fight goes on, the worse I think it becomes for Shabazian. So I am going to go with Fluffy, round 3, submission. This will be the first submission loss of Shabazian's career.
Okay. Main event time, gentlemen. Consequential fight in the women's strawweight division. Mackenzie Dern taking on Angela Overkill Hill. Mackenzie Dern, the 30-year-old, fighting out of Phoenix, Arizona. She is 12-3 as a pro, 7 submissions on her record, coming off of a very close majority decision loss against Zhao Nanyan back in October. She will be standing across from Angela Overkill Hill, the 38-year-old out of San Diego, California. 15-12 as a pro with 5 knockouts on her record. Coming in with back-to-back victories into this weekend over Lupita Godinez and Emily Ducote. All right, I will go first. This is a tricky fight to pick. Obviously, very different style matchups. I'm going to have to go with the rising Mackenzie Dern. Watching some interviews lately, she's going through a lot of stuff personally. Unfortunately, she's going through a divorce, which sucks because she has a kid. I think she also is going through management change or something like that. So she's stressed, she's angry, she's frustrated, and I think she's going to bring that into her. She's going to bring a little extra fire in with her in this fight. And she's going to do what she has to do to get this fight to the ground where she has the advantage over a girl who's been one of my favorite fighters on the female side especially. It's been no secret on this show, Angela Hill. But I'm going to take Mackenzie Dern is going to show out over my girl Angela Hill. She's going to show out, and I'm going to say she's going to get round 2 submission.
Who wants it?
I will take it. I will go. I love Angela Hill. I'm generally Team Hill. I love her entrances. I love her weigh-ins. I love her character. I love everything about her. I can't pick her here. I just can't. Like, a lot of the times I rely on my emotions and things like that, and I, like, most of the time get screwed. See my record for this year for verification. And the reality is Mackenzie Dern, her striking continues to improve. And Angela Hill has the type of style that it is difficult for me to imagine that she is going to finish somebody. And for me, if you're not finishing Mackenzie Dern, then you're spending the rest of the fight trying to keep Mackenzie Dern off of you. Because Mackenzie Dern knows that she can finish you if she gets her hands on you. And unlike a Ronda Rousey, Mackenzie Dern has decent enough hands that she's able to protect herself, and she's also able to sting people. Definitely has some head movement. You could see the in my opinion, the exponential growth in her striking even over the last few years, having now worked with Priaulx as long, and I can only imagine she's getting better. We saw somebody done put the beats on her face, and now her nose is all kinds of swollen going into this fight. But Angela Hill is a volume fighter, and she might pepper her quite a bit, especially in the first round. But God help her if Mackenzie Dern even tries to pull guard in this fight. You know what I mean? Grab a couple wrists, pull guard, maybe go for some kind of outside trip takedown. But if it gets down to the ground, Angela Hill is well versed on the ground, right? She's fought Virna Jandiroba, she did not get submitted. She fought Amanda Lemos, didn't get submitted. She fought Michelle Waterson Gomez, didn't get submitted. The last time she got submitted was by Randa Marcos, and God only knows where Randa Marcos is at this point. So Angela Hill has definitely improved her ground game, but I would have to imagine at this point that when it comes to what they have to offer, Dern's ground game has got to be a level above at this point. So I got to go with Dern. I think she gets it done. I'm going to go with Dern by a finish. Second round submission.
So I'm in a very similar boat, where as much as I want to consider Angela Hill in this matchup, I'm just having a hard time considering anything other than a Mackenzie Dern W. And for that reason, I'm surprised that the odds are as tight as they are. It's Mackenzie Dern is minus 180. Angela Hill is plus 145, which certainly implies the bookies think she has a solid shot here. I don't know. I don't see the way in which Angela Hill wins this fight. I fully believe there will be moments for her in the striking where we're like, oh, fuck, look, Angie clipped her a little bit. But I think there's just going to be a lot more moments where Mackenzie Dern is on top of her or on her back or hanging on a limb or whatever it may be. And as you said, Hill has always done well to defend subs. But even if she can do that, I think there's just going to be too much grappling control for any decision to go Angela's way. And I'm actually going to say the same as you guys, that she does get tapped here. I think that Mackenzie Dern is going to have a bad taste in her mouth from being unable to finish Zhao Nanyan, from seeing the heights she has reached now in this division, knowing that could have been her. I think she's really going to take some risks in the grappling, push it, hunting for subs, and I think she finds one. I'm going to say, I'll call out a specific sub, actually. I will say Mackenzie Dern, armbar, round 3.
Ooh.
A matter of fact, you know what? I will see your armbar, and I will raise you flying armbar.
Wow, wow, Jesus. Mike, somersaulting armbar, would you like to go with?
I'll go with that armbar. That's is what I would picture in my head.
Wow.
All right, boys. Let us end with a little bit of trivia.
It's been a minute since we had some trivia.
So, Mackenzie Dern currently holds the record for the most submission victories in UFC women's strawweight history, with 4 wins by submission in the UFC. Which 2 UFC fighters are currently tied for most wins in title fights by submission? Also, coincidentally, with 4, just like Mackenzie Dern.
Active or all time?
All time.
Okay. I mean, there's one that comes to my head right away.
It's got to be Ronda, right?
I'm going to give you 4 choices, and you have to pick the 2 guys that are tied.
It's not Ronda.
Is it not? Is it women? Women, right?
This is all fighters, ever.
Oh, fuck. It's all fighters. Okay. I thought it was women. My bad. Okay.
I still thought it was Ronda. Because title fights?
And submissions, huh?
Okay. Is it A, John Bones Jones, B, Demetrius Mighty Mouse Johnson, C, Khabib Nurmagomedov, or D, George Rush St. Pierre? And I'll throw in Ronda for good measure. Although I'm throwing her in, then you know it's not her.
Yeah, we already know.
Oh, shit. Is it Khabib?
Dude, how many fucking title fights did Khabib even have?
Because I'm trying to think right now, because I know, right, because he did Poirier.
He had 4.
But he did Poirier, he did McGregor, he did Iaquinta for the title.
Did he tap Iaquinta?
No, he didn't.
Yeah.
He didn't. He went all 5 rounds with him. That's right.
Yeah, so it's 3 for Khabib. So he's not the answer, because Mike already said the answer's 4.
Right. No. Okay.
Who's the other people? GSP, DJ, and who? Oh, and Bones.
It's not GSP. GSP's got like the most fucking decisions ever.
And we're picking 2 of these?
Tied with 4.
Then it's got to be.
I assume GSP must have 3, or else Mike wouldn't have put him on this list. But and maybe he has 4, but my guess is going to be Bones and DJ.
Yeah, that's where I'm at too. Because Bones would have been what? Machida, Rampage.
Should we talk through it? Rampage was a sub? What did he sub Rampage with?
Fucking choked him out. He rear naked choked him.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Had a picture it.
That was after he's kicking me in my knee. Dirty. He's still on that, bro.
Did he tap Chael? How did Chael end?
He did tap Chael.
That was a sub?
That was I believe that was a guillotine. That was how he popped his toe. I think that was a guillotine from the front, like against the cage, like a front guillotine.
Yeah, I'll say Bones and DJ, I guess.
That's where I'm at too.
That is correct. Bones and DJ both have 4 title fight wins by submission. Jones
Do you have them offhand? Oh, perfect.
Yes, I pulled them up as well. Jones has 3 at light heavyweight, and obviously 1 now at heavyweight.
Oh, sure.
Which we knew.
Sure.
Yep. So
DJ
what is 3 at light heavyweight?
Let's see. Let's see.
I think it was those 3.
He's
it was
I want to make sure
Machida,
right.
obviously.
Rampage.
Belfort.
He sub Belfort.
He subbed Belfort?
Key lock.
Oh, Americana. That's right.
Yep.
That's right.
So who did he not? Who's the other one?
Rampage and Machida.
So he didn't sub Chael. Yeah. That
What
makes
happened
sense.
with Chael? Oh, was it a KO?
Elbows.
That's
TKO.
what, yeah, I would say I couldn't
ground
picture
pound.
a sub of Chael.
Yes, it was ground pound.
That's why. Okay.
Okay, Mighty Mouse, his 4. Let's see.
Horiguchi.
I'll tell you one person he certainly fucking subbed, Ray Borg.
Ray Borg.
Yes.
Yep.
John Moraga,
Yeah.
Chris Carriasso,
Oh, Chris Carriasso. Yeah.
Carriasso.
Wait, what?
Horiguchi.
He fought Chris Carriasso in a title fight?
Bro,
Yes.
but how long ago was that?
No, he
DJ's
did not.
That was in
DJ's
2014.
Yeah, bro. DJ was champion for like forever.
How did Chris Carriasso get to a title fight?
Who was fighting for the title? He ran through the whole division.
My mind is blown by that.
Bro, they made a whole tough for him.
Utterly blown, dude.
He fought everybody.
Who did he beat to get a title fight with DJ?
He beat Iliadre Santos, Danny Martinez, and Luis Smolka.
My God, the division was gross at that point. I can't even remember him having a title fight.
Yep.
Okay, couple of notes here. I kind of messed up by saying guys. Which 2 guys? Because Ronda was on the list, that would have really thrown you off. So I quickly, on the fly, subbed Ronda out for GSP. Because I kind of let that cat out of the bag.
Yeah.
A fun tidbit, Matt Hughes had 3 title fight wins by submission and would have had 4 because he fought Joe Riggs. Was supposed to be a title fight, but Riggs missed weight by like 5 pounds, and it was made a non-title fight. And he beat him by submission.
Damn.
I have a question.
Yes.
Why do I see 5 for DJ?
You see 5?
Is one not a title fight though?
That's what I'm trying to figure out.
So John Moraga was the first submission.
Yep.
Chris Carriasso.
Chris Carriasso, Kyoji Horiguchi, Wilson Hayes, and Ray Borg.
Oh. The list was wrong.
Mike just heckened.
I mean, those are all title fights, are they not?
Yeah. No, they are. They're all.
The
they're
list
all
was
title fights.
wrong. The list says it was updated March 18th, 2023.
A bunch of fucking liars.
God damn. Sorry, guys.
Was Wilson Hayes not on that list? Because something tells me they forgot Wilson Hayes.
It's just a list of the wins.
They
of
should have
the
forgotten
number.
Chris Carriasso. That's the wildest one.
Okay, also real quick, fun side note. Frank Shamrock is very odd. He's like on the list with 3, but I counted like 4 or 5, but also, let's see, 2 of his 3 submissions were in, the word they used is deprecated UFC middleweight division when it was a different like weight class, but still called middleweight.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it was higher.
Also, one of his 3 submissions in the first 3, I don't know, something. Also, 2 of his wins were TKOs, but they were tapped to strikes.
Yeah.
So I'm like, does that count as that's like, it is a submission, but it's not a submission.
I count that as a TKO.
Yeah,
Okay.
I feel like if you tap, it should be a submission, personally. That's
The
how I
other
feel.
way. The other way.
Anyway,
So Ronda only had 3?
Ronda, I did verify that one. Ronda
title
only
fight?
had 3 in the UFC.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Bear in mind, Ronda went like, whatever, 6-0 or like all arm bars.
It's because she started knocking people out when she got to the UFC.
Yeah, her UFC defenses were 3-3.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Wild.
Good trivia.
We did it.
Enjoyed it.
All right. Well,
Boom.
as is our custom, it is almost 1 a.m. and we're done. And that's the show.
Boom.
It was a great show, though.
It's, let us know what you guys think down in the comments below.
And that's it. Go home.
Any other? What do you guys
get the
want?
fuck outta
Any other words? Say bye.
Yeah.
My headphones are dying. One literally just went off.
Peace.
Peace.
Peace.